Hey friends, how are you all? I hope you all are doing great. So here's another interesting story of Naruto. What if Naruto was the alpha male god and had Hestia as bedservant? This story doesn't have any parts. If you want to see more stuff like this, please leave a like, do a comment, and also share with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe this channel, and also do check the talented author of this captivating story. What I Will Do for the Ones I Love by Hank Fox 64. Author's name is mentioned in description box. So let's begin. I am nervous. Sitting at my nice table, tapping my foot on the bottom of Tartarus, my tapping only help a little. Can my wife just flash in? And why does she have to make me wait? I love being social, but I can't even walk on the surface of the planet I've made. I wish I made everybody stronger so I can be around them, without killing them instantly, but my old, fated partner always say I was an idiot. I miss you, my old foxy friend, and in my defense, when Cammy is that angry with you for erasing the entire universe and telling you to make a new one, you do it without thinking about the little details, I say with a thoughtful smile as I look at a potted plant in the corner. My goodness, my dear, please show up before I become insane. The new 10 tails, it been a couple of millennium, maybe a little more than a couple, I thought, tapping my head. And don't forget I have the power of the universe behind me, I say with a heartbreaking undertone, because if I wasn't, I can live with my beautiful wife. Everybody always went fantastic power and strength, but in my case being a primordial will kill any near me. But down here I can at least hug my wife, in her downtime. Before I can get depressed, a ball of fire pops in front of me, making me smile. I stand up smiling, hearing the odd sound of wood sliding against wood. I am truly happy to see you, Hestia-chan. And I happy to see you to Naruto-kun, she says with a small bow and an undying smile. She bows in a flirty flashing. I love it when she bows to me, or maybe that is just the power talking. I've been patiently waiting for you, I say with a sad smile. Is everything okay up there? I ask in a worried fashion. It's not fine, for a girl to see her husband, she asks with a happy smile, but I know the truth by looking into her eyes. Yes, and I know you too well, so what's up? I ask, smiling at my pun. As I smile, I motion to the chair on the other side of the table. Please sit, I have a feeling this will take a long time. Hestia shook her head instantly and said with confidence, no, can we take this to the couch? I don't want a table between us. I smiled and said, flirty, you gonna sit on my lap again? She instantly blushes. And Hestia walked to the couch and sat on it, patting the spot next to her. With that seductive grin, I love seeing her like this. Without thinking, I flash on the couch and put an arm over her. So, what up? I ask with a smile. My brother, she answers like that answers everything. Which brother are we talking about? I ask, but having a strong guess about one of them. Zeus, the thunderbolt was stolen, she said quietly. Hestia's tone gave me a strong feeling to hug her tightly, which I did. Oh, are you worrying this might lead to a civil war? She nodded slowly, putting her head on my chest, giving me a good opportunity to play with the hair. I see, I spoke. Yes, Naruto-kun, I don't want to see our family fight, she says, sounding like she might start crying. I started softly rubbing her head and said in her ear, and that's a reason why I love you. When I say that, I know she was blushing. Got any ideas? She asks nervously. You know I will love to help, but I can't go up on the surface. I know that, but, I've been thinking about that. I can't help but smile, because she pushed her head off my chest and looked at me with love in her eyes. With that cute smile, she always does when she has a plan. Please continue, I say, giving her my complete attention. I know you never have good control over your fast's amount of divine power. It calls chakra. I say, not interrupt Hestia-chan, but please continue. I say, smiling, not wanting to get her angry, thinking happy wife, happy life. But Hestia-chan rose her pretty eyes and says, I know that's silly. I laugh. I got to remind you every time you talk about what going on up there. I started pointing straight up. She smiled and worked herself on my lap. Yes. Hestia-chan begins, you never that great at split your chakra by yourself. Although she didn't sound confident, she said it slowly, sounding unsure of herself. I tap my shin in thought, and after a moment of that, I smile and mumble, shadow clones. How did I forget about shadow clones? She smiles, I will leave it up to you. I think you are already having ideas of what to do next. Am I right, Naruto-kun? She asked, but by her tone, she sounded like she already knew the answer. Yep. But I can't believe I haven't thought of this yet. Shadow clones should be my specialty. I say dispersedly, but luckily my dear wife pushes her S against my own. Hers is nice and soft, very soft. I'm an idiot for not thinking of this. Hestia-chan leans in and whispers in my ear, but you are my idiot and I think it is super cute. She finishes off giggling like a young girl and not the goddess she said she is. But in my eyes, she is still young. I hold her closer to me and smile. How long has it been? Too long, my love. As she said that, as I carefully slide my hands under her shirt and unhook her bra. I mumble, why do you ever need to wear a bar? I ask, seeing that beautiful area pop suddenly with the unhooking. She rolls her eyes as she attempts to unbutton my shirt. Isn't it obvious? You love taking them off, so I put them on for your enjoyment. I can't help but to blush. That is very wise of you, but I wonder how long you will last, this time, and I do love hearing you moan. And I can't help it, I love it when you have your way with me. I pull her shirt off her, and as I pulled it off, I say, let's work on that problem about your brother tomorrow, but now I want to know how loud you can scream my name. She said as she shakes her head, please be gentle, I'm opposed to being a maiden goddess, and I do have meetings I opposed to be in tomorrow. So, are you saying I can't make you limp? No, fan, I say, pouting. Gods, you are too cute, she says, making her bounce for the fun of it, and of course, making me look in fascination. And yes, we got dirty. The next day I open my eyes smelling beautiful smells coming from the kitchen. Yeah, I don't need to sleep, but who doesn't like waking up to Hestia cooking? I got up slowly, hoping that she is willing to one of those night wears, or even better than just an apron. As I walk out of the living room, interrogation, it was a small home. I snapped my fingers and instantly put on clothes. I can't be walking around naked, right? Hi Hestia, I say. I let my eyes wander over her 19-year-old body. Sadly, Hestia is not wearing anything showing or an apron. But the t-shirt I have on yesterday and only it, so I'm classifying it as a night dress by how it looked on her. Good morning, Naruto-kun, and no Japanese suffix, Hestia says. I started obviously stealing at her soft legs. If you didn't remember, I called you that even before the Japanese islands were foam. Sorry, Hestia says, putting her hands on her hips, making sure that my shirt doesn't hide her outline. No problem, you are too cute to stay mad at, although don't align on that. She bows, smiling, trying to make me look down my shirt. Please, the mighty great one, please take my cooking as an apology. You must remember, I am only a goddess. I wave my hand, but before I can say, your cooking is enough. Hestia went into a daze. I stood patiently, not wanting to break her out of it. After a short moment, but long enough for a conversation to happen, Hestia looked at me and say in a profound and sad tone, sorry, I must go, but can you sacrifice some of the food? I want to, at least feel like I eat with you. Don't worry about it, in a short time I'll be up there. I gave her a pianate smile that she gladly returns. Then she snapped her fingers, turning herself into a ball of fire. Hestia was gone. Grover Pav. Two of them. I can't handle more than two. You know what happened last time, and you know what happens if I fail this mission. I say, not carry about sounding panicky, because I am. Yes, Percy Jackson is a demigod. Wait, two of them. Who is the second one? Chiron says, looking like Mr. Brunner. The new student, I think his name is Naruto. I say, scratching the back of my head, I hope I got his name right. I see, and young Naruto does look a lot like Apollo. He the son of Apollo. I guess in shock. I can't say, but going off his looks and by his school record, it is a possibility. So, Chiron. Yes, Grover Underwood? The centaur asks kindly and slowly, giving me some confidence. So, I'm nervous with one that powerful, but two of them. Should we take them to Camp Half-Blood? I ask quietly, cracking my voice, wishing I had a tin can. Why am I like this? I believe that is a good idea because Jackson is already asking too many questions about what happened at the museum. Chiron said with obvious regret, I will talk with Percy's mother, and for Naruto, I will use the mist. I nodded. Yeah, it might be a little odd for someone to go to school for like 2 days. Although, I don't want to remove everybody's memories of him. And the odd thing is Nancy Bobofit is being nice to us and everyone. Yes, Chiron says, snapping his fingers. Yes, one of their teachers says she has a crush on Naruto. But I did think she has a crush on Percy, but girls are still confusing after all the years. Chiron finished with a small laugh. I will believe it when I see it, I said doubtfully. Maybe, I will talk to Sally after school, and we can take them to camp tomorrow. And Naruto? He does like learning about history, and he is new, so he is looking for friends. Maybe we can offer him to go to the camp, over the weekend? I nodded slowly, feeling grim. I hope everything goes well. Chiron Pav the Jackson's home. I took a deep breath and I knock on the door. I start to hear footsteps and a woman shouting, coming. So, I waited for Sally to open the door. Oh, hi Mr. Brunner, now what did my son do this time? Sigh. Sally, it's time for him to go to the camp. May I come in? Sally instantly looked surprised and scared, but after a moment she nodded and said, of course, please come. XXXXX. We walked into the living room and sat down on one of those push-back chairs, but she didn't push it back. I stopped my wheelchair on the other side of the table. The table was covered with empty beer cans, and I can't help but notice it smell awful in the apartment. This will only last about a minute or two, but let me introduce myself properly. My name is Chiron. Sorry for interrupting, but I thought you were like a half-horse. A centaur? She says, sounding sorry but with a tense undertone. Did Percy's father ever tell you about Camp Half-Blood? He did, and he said Percy might be safe there. I understand how much you sacrifice to keep your son safe. I do respect that, but his scent is getting too strong. So, I hate to tell you this, but he must come to camp. I say sadly, this is what I always hate about this job. She looked me straight in the eye and asks a single word, when? Tomorrow, I say confidently. She nodded slowly, looking out of the window. One more thing before I leave, who is his father? She looked at me terrifyingly. I am the trainer of heroes, I don't care about the politics of Olympus. She takes a deep breath and swallows her nerves. May I write it down? Of course, you can. Names have power, especially when they are said out loud. After I say that, I start to feel a little bit nervous about the age and how much is being done to cover up his scent. Oh, gods. Sally sent up and walk into the kitchen. After a moment of my sitting there, Sally walked out of the kitchen holding a sticky note. She gave it to me, and I look at the paper for a second and open it. Poseidon. I nodded and used the mist to catch it on fire. Let's just say that you never got the name of your lover. When I say that, I see Sally blush. And I can see why the ocean god finds her attractive. Sally scratches her head awkwardly and says, I don't know who he is. That is sad. I guess his father must claim him at the right time, I say, frowning. She smiled and nodded, but her smile was lovely. Poseidon is always weak against girls who can blush and smile prettily, like that. Before I go, do you want to write a letter for your son? Sally nodded and she got up and went to the kitchen once again. And that response made me smile. Before I go, do you want to weigh a letter for your son? She nodded and got up and went to the kitchen once again. I smile at that response. Percy Pav. Grover. Do you have any ideas why Mr. Brunner wants to see us? I ask as I jump down the last 5 steps. You don't have to be a show-off, but I don't, Grover says as I turn around to see him walk down the steps I decided to skip. Sigh. I have a strong feeling that he knows but not telling me. It's not even April. So, Grover, I started, what about Mrs. Dobbs? He stops awkwardly and says, I don't know what you are talking about, but for a small moment, he looks round like something is hunting us. Whatever you say, Grover. After that I felt too awkward to say anything else, so we just went to the CL room in silence. XXXXX. When we got to Mr. Brunner's door, I reached up to knock on the wood. But before I can, he says, please come in, Percy and Grover. Before I open the door, I turn around at the light on the ceiling that gave me away. And I mumble, God, I hate that light. But Grover let out an awkward laugh at my comment. I walk in and hold the door for my best friend. You know he is not the best at walking. When Grover got past me holding the door, I let go of it and walked to my favorite teacher's front desk. Mr. Brunner is sitting in his wheelchair comfortably behind his desk, smiling at us. Good afternoon, Mr. Brunner, and I didn't do it, I say with a big smile, copying one of my new friends. That's not the reason why, but did you do something? Mr. Brunner asks, putting his elbows on his desk and leaning his head on his hands. No, I said instantly, not helping. Mr. Brunner clears his throat and starts, that's good, I would like to tell you something. It is more on the private side, so I want to tell you now. I nodded. Your mother sent me an email that told me to keep you at school because some problems at home have popped up. And I personally don't want you to be bored out of your mind at school. So I went ahead and you three to a camp, over the week-long break. He stops giving me a nod. The first thing that came out of my mouth was, is my mom okay? She is okay. You don't need to worry about it, Mr. Brunner said. That is probably the worst thing to say to a 12-year-old boy, telling them don't worry about something. So, with that thought, I felt a sense of panic coming from my stomach. Don't look like, your mother is all fine, she just doesn't want you to be at home right now. She did say she will stop by at the camp for a couple of days. Jackson, the camp is next to the ocean. So, don't worry about it. My favorite teacher says seriously, and he even gives me his serious gaze. After a moment of thinking about it, I nodded and say, I'm in. It's a win. I don't have to go home and see that man and my mom can get away from that man, it's great. Mr. Brunner opened his mouth to speak but before he can say something he turned his head to his door and said, you may come in Naruto. What he didn't even look, God, he has spider senses. Naruto walks in mumbling something under his breath. The lights, I say helpfully. I know, Naruto said. Before you ask, you're not in trouble, Mr. Brunner says to the smiling Naruto. Yeah, Mr. Brunner, it's my second day and how can I be in trouble? He says smiling like he did nothing wrong. Yeah, Mr. Brunner responded quietly. And that response made me smile. Naruto knows how to have fun. Naruto then asks, so, why am I here? We would like to invite you to a summer camp. Mr. Brunner spoke. You know we're closer to Christmas than summer, right? Naruto said like he knows the in and outs to the universe's secrets. Mr. Brunner said, yes, it is mainly a summer camp, but they like to open during school breaks. Naruto nodded for a second and then say, cool, I always wanted to go to a summer camp, or a break camp. He says with a big smile and in his eyes are shouting that he will have fun. When are we leaving? Grover asks, probably remembering he is also in this conversation. We can leave in an hour, or we can leave tomorrow morning, whichever you want, Mr. Brunner answered. Can we leave now? Grover responded. I don't like our beds. I like them, but my roommate has left so I vote going now. And the nights always look pretty, with all the lights up in the sky. Naruto finished with one of those super happy smiles. Well, guys, thanks for pushing me in, but sure I'm ready to pack, I say with a huff, but I must agree with Grover, the bed are uncomfortable. Mr. Brunner claps his hands together and says, okay boys, go pick up your bags and meet me in the office so I can sign you out. We all nodded and ran up to our rooms talking about if the camp played kickball or capture the flag. XXXXX. When Grover and I walk into our room, Naruto has run off to his own. I ask, hey Grover, you like talking about the camp, so what do you think I need to bring? Maybe a week of clothes, but they do give out t-shirts and stuff, Grover said quietly looking out in the hallway. Maybe just want to see where Naruto's room is. Cool, they give out t-shirts. I say in response, so a couple of days, so a random task in of clothes. That sounds nice Percy, but don't forget your underwear and socks, Grover says as he makes sniffing sounds with his nose. Yeah, I know, you didn't have to remind me, but he just smiled and said, like last time? That was different. I shouted at him, but then I noticed, are you going to pack anything? He laughed awkwardly. I've been there so many times, I have my own stack of clothes there. I nodded, focusing on getting my clothes and stuff in my backpack. In a moment of silence, Naruto said, hey Grover, is Percy ready, or is he already down there? I guess he's still packing up, Grover says, and I can feel his eyes on me. Naruto, I'm trying to get the zipper, but I'm ready, I use my inside shouting voice. I did that too, packing everything in my backpack, Naruto said. After that moment I give up on the zipper and just stand up picking up my backpack. The first thing I noticed is Naruto was smiling, which is normal for him, but he was blushing. Dude, you okay? Naruto responded quickly, oh it's nothing, don't worry about it. I nodded dumbly, as I swing my bag on my back, so, let's go. My two friends who were blocking the doorway nodded and started walking to the stairs. I roll my eyes, smiling. I sprinted after them. XXXXX. We walked into the office seeing Mr. Brunner signing some papers. Then Mr. Brunner handed the papers to the older student, who were behind the counter. She took the papers smiling and said cutely, "Thank you." She took a moment to look at the papers, making sure everything was filled out and signed. She nodded and looked at Mr. Brunner, then slowly looked at us. The older student said, "Don't forget to study at camp. Yeah, the exams are a month away, but don't forget about it." She looks back at our teacher, and she gets a nod from him. I smiled at the scene. Luckily, I didn't bring anything to study with me. Mr. Brunner looks at us and says, "You are all ready to go?" We all nodded. Although I think I heard Grover mumble something like, "Nothing wrong happening yet." XXXXX. We walk out of the school under the lights of the stars. Mr. Brunner makes his way over to the van he loves talking about. The van was parked directly in front of the door. A question popped up in my head, and maybe on second thought it is kind of rude to ask, but I did anyways. "Mr. Brunner, how can you drive your van if you can't use your legs?" He started laughing a little. Then he says, "I don't use my legs to drive. Everything I needed is at the steering wheel." That cools," I say in awe. "Thanks," Mr. Brunner said in response. "Fun fact, Franklin D. Roosevelt drive around like this." And Percy, how many years was Roosevelt in office? I shrug. Was he in office for 4 terms? Sue, and he didn't make it to his last year, Sue 15? Mr. Brunner shrugged in response. "I recommend study your study guide until it is second nature for you." I will? I ask. "And Grover, let your friend here borrow your study guide," Mr. Brunner says to my best friend with a small smile. Yes, Mr. Brunner, I will," he said, looking at me like I'm the one who forgot something. Naruto finally spoke up, finishing looking up at the stars. "And I get it, I grew up in the Big Apple. It's a nice night." Grover looks up and says, "I agree, but I will rather look at some beautiful trees." Naruto laughs. "Maybe," he said. I was about to speak up, but Mr. Brunner beat me to the punch. "Kids, get in the back seat, and I will drive." Since Grover was closer to the door, he opens it and get in firsts. Then me, and then Naruto, who was mainly stars gazing. When the car started moving, I realized something terrifying. I took the middle seat. Grover elbows me in the ribs when we get on the highway. "I'm going to sleep, it is a long drive." I nodded. XXXXX. When I open my eyes, I see I am in my apartment sitting on the couch in the living room. I look around, and my vision is motion blurry, making me feel sick. I hear an order muffle sound coming from the door. I get up to answer it, but I can't. Suddenly, my mom walk out of my room. I tried making a sound, but it goes under deaf ears. I tried making another sound, but she continued walking to the door. I don't know why, I just have a terrifying feeling directly over me, like something big and scary with big teeth, watch you. But when she opened it, there was just a kind old man. Stupid dreams. I was going to say something else, but when I spoke, the old man looked directly into my eyes. I heard my mom speak up. "My son isn't here, you can't get him, he is long gone," Mom said, somehow holding up a golf club. The old man grabbed her wrist and the club dropped to the ground with a thud. Then, I heard a scream. Layer with pain. Even more layered than the times Gabe hit or slapped my mom. I tried getting up again. I just want to do something. I want to help my mom. Mom starts shouting out courses, and with the free hand, she starts punching the old man in the knees. But the old man just laughs at my mom. He speaks in a kind and polite tone. "We know Perseus Jackson is not here. This is just plan B." My mom turned to golden dust. Trust me. I tried to scream out at the old man, but nothing came out. The old man looks at me in the eyes again and smiled. "Wake up, Perseus Jackson. Make your death fun for my friend." Naruto Pav. I woke up. My ninja senses were tingling. "Hey, Grover, I just got a bad feeling about something." He looks at me awkwardly, most likely thinking about what to say. After some time of hearing the calming sounds of the car driving on a road, Grover finally started sniffing his nose. Good, he is using his head. Though he is doing a bad job acting like he is starting to catch a cold. But he can work on that later. Grover then shouted. He shouted in lace with his horror at what he smelled. I know he shouted without thinking because he let something slip. "Kyron, something strong is near us." "Kyron? Grover, he been your teacher the longest." The driver spoke up, Chiron is my real name. I didn't want you to have this before we get to the camp. But you have a right to know, you and Percy are both demigods, sons of the gods. What, so, the museum? We all look at Percy, he looks like he was woken up from my scary nightmare. Cold sweat, and pale skin. Yes. How long will you wake? Grover asks, sounding scared. I can't blame him, yeah. He is 20 but his horns haven't even grown in. Before Naruto woke up. Grover nodded, but before anyone can say anything, something loud sounded like a boom and the world started spinning. XXXXX when I came to. My head felt out and muffled. I wish I can draw more of my power, but no. Shaking my head, letting my hearing come back to me. Our driver Chiron is not in the front seat, although I can sense him being outside. I can't see him because the van is upside down. I bet Chiron shooting arrows at it, to slow it down, to buy us time. He can't kill monsters if they are not attacking the camp or for the Olympics itself. Are you okay? Grover shouted. Yeah, I'm good but my head is just pounding. Percy shouted back at the question, he sounded scared. I'm fine but we need to get out of this van, I shouted as my vision cleared up. Grover. Good plan Naruto, he shouted, maybe his hearing is muffled. Percy, I began, is the pain constant or going in and out like the tide? Constant but it's starting to fade away, Percy shouted. Good, you might can sleep it off, I shouted back knowing he is a demigod, so he needed to sleep it off. As I shouted, I unbuttoned my seatbelt, letting my body fall to the van ceiling. I positioned myself getting ready to kick the window so I can get out, but before I can kick it a horse's leg kicks it for me shattering the GL like it was butter. Thanks, I shouted climbing out of the window. As I got out, I looked up seeing a half man and half horse or also known as a centaur. I gave him a nod of thanks. When he gave me one in return I turn around and help my two friends out of the broken window. I look up at Chiron and ask, what is the plan? Wait, that is the Minotaur from those Greek myths, Percy says sounding like he got any cushion. Percy don't say his name, names have power, Grover says something like he might start crying. The Minotaur starts sprinting with his mouth wide open, ready to bite down on us. Luckily for us, Chiron has experience fighting these monsters. And he shot an arrow directly into the Minotaur's mouth making it stop to pull it out. Chiron demanded, ran to the camp line, you will be safe there. Grover said in a shaky voice, follow me. I stand up helping Percy stand up hoping he isn't wobbly. He gave me a quick nod. And said, I think I'm good, let's go. Then he nodded to Grover. Grover turns around and started running, and we follow him. We started sprinting up a hill to a meave tree that felt like a girl. I mean, is a girl? As we spent up the hill, I can hear behind me the fighting. Technically it's not a fight. Chiron is shooting an arrow at the Minotaur, making him angrier and angrier. Painter Angler keeping the Minotaur on Chiron and not on us. So, we made it to the camp. As we ped the tree girl Percy fainted. I carefully lay Percy on the ground. Then as I check his heartbeat, I look up at the fight or beat down. Chiron is fast and has a bow and knows how to use it. The Minotaur has arrows in his eyes and his knees, so not a fun day for the Minotaur. I smile a little at the show. I can't help but think about when I first got married. The routine was to work on my domains. Go home and watch your beautiful wife doing her home duties. Maybe why that who all her domains are with the home. Then after, and then repeat. But when I wake up, and I learn Hestia-chan ran off to help her brothers and sisters, and then my only company is a potted plant. But now I thought smiling. Before I can continue thought a girl sounding 12 says quietly, oh, I see. Then she shouted, Chiron there in the camp boundaries. The moment the last word P over her lips. Chiron stops and pulls the bow all the way back, and shot the Minotaur in the head, turning it into golden dust. Before I can continue thought a girl sounding 12 says quietly, oh, I see. Then she shouted, Chiron there in the camp boundaries. The moment the last word P over her lips. Chiron stops and pulls the bow back, and shot the Minotaur in the head, turning it into golden dust. Naruto Pav. Naruto, please follow me to the big house, Chiron spoke as he walked past. Chiron. The girl with the gray eyes said. Chiron stops in his trot and turns around, yes, Annabeth, what do you need? His tone sounded like he already knows the answer. May I show the greenies around and help out? Of course, you can follow us as well, he said with a simple nod, and his bow disappeared in a flash of light. Cool, I mumble, this will be fun. The half-horse and half-men smiled at me. I smiled in return. We once again start walking to the oversight building that is popularly called the Big House. When we got on the wooden patio, Chiron spoke up, Annabeth, can you make sure that Percy goes to the medic bay? The gray-eyed girl nodded and turned around and started walking toward the group of campers that are carrying Percy to the big house. I look at Chiron, hoping he will go into the story behind that. Ask around. Why are we going to the big house? You have already told me everything in the car. Yes, we told you about the gods, but you need to meet the camp director, Mr. D. Great, I'm meeting a god already. My chakra hasn't stabilized yet. Hope the god is too lazy or doesn't care enough to double check. XXXXX. We walk into the big house. Naruto, meet Mr. D. He introduced me to the only person in the room. Mr. D the god has a card deck in front of him and sits back smelling a GL of red wine. He looked like he doesn't want to be there. I kind of felt sad for him, because I must set in Tartarus a little after the Titan's golden age. And my only company is the man himself, and when my wife can find time to sneak away for a bit. And the monsters, they were too afraid to say hi. But this god sitting in front of me felt young, like super young. A cute baby, who can't even control his godly powers. I smiled and said, good to meet you, Mr. D. Mr. D says, not looking up, too busy with his wine, clean or determined? Nope, and before you ask, I grew up in an orphanage, so I have no idea if my godly parent is a god or a goddess. The god of look up at me in surprise. What, did I say something? No, you the first kid in a long time. Know it, women can cheat too. So, good for you. Mr. D finished taking a drink from his GL. I nodded dumbly, having no clue of what to say, so I say, thanks. The god laughed. You want to play a game? He asked as he picked up the deck of cards. Chiron, pull up a chair. I have to warn you, my luck is amazing, I say as I sit down. Naruto, your luck doesn't matter when you're going against a god with centuries more experience than you. An. 2. Out of the corners of my eyes, I noticed Chiron look shocked. Let me guess, AD as in Mr. D, and you look like you were enjoying yourself with that GL of wine. So, it is a pleasure to meet you, Dionysus. That was my guess when I walked in, but if I say it straight, too many questions will pop up. He sat there for a moment looking above my head, then he mumbled, I would have thought, but you don't have gray eyes. The god of wine and pleasure, an odd domain for you, but you know how to party. Chiron spoke up, you not going to ask what Mr. D meant? I shrug, nothing happened, so why should I worry about it? Chiron spoke up again, before you start giving the underage boys some drinks, I did promise Annabeth to show Naruto around the camp. Dionysus nodded at the half-horseman, okay, brat, you can leave. I stand up and say, Dionysus, you owe me a game. He nodded, and I calmly walk out smiling. Maybe Hestia was onto something. I'm gotten to meet my family. XXXXX. Walking out of the big house and on the patio. The girl, who I can guess is named Annabeth, is sitting on the step, reading what only looks like a textbook. So, Annabeth, I heard you going to show me around the camp? She gave me a hand wave, and absent-mindedly bookmarked the page she was reading on and closed the book. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, I say, answering the hand wave. But she laughs. I already know your name. If you remember, Chiron said your name in front of us, but it's nice to meet you. I smiled at her, at least she didn't rudely say she already know it. Is Grover okay? Where is he? I ask for my friend. Oh, Grover, he is in a meeting with the Nature Council. Sound fun. Annabeth stands up quickly and says excitedly, I know, I always want to watch. I raise my hand in the universal sign of surrender, and I couldn't help but smile at her excitement. A young image of Métis flashes on Annabeth's face. I smiled at the image and say, do you mind showing me around the camp? An. 3. Right, she said as she turns around and start walking. The layout of the camp is super simple. This side of the river has the big house, the volleyball courts, and the art and crafts. A camp made up of demigods has a volleyball court? This is a summer camp, and the girls of Aphrodite want another excuse to strip down in a bikini, she says with venom. So, no volleyball tournaments, Yeah, but we don't play it that seriously. But if you want to play with them, be my guest, and over there is the art and crafts. She says, pointing at a huge building with a smokestack. Let me guess, we make weapons. Yes, but the Hephaestus children do. It is too hot for anyone who is not a child of Hephaestus. Do I put in an order? I ask. I already have a weapon for monsters, but it'll be cool if I can get a shield. Yes, you can, but it will cost you a couple of favors. When we were walking over a bridge, she asked randomly, claim or unclaimed? Unclaimed. God or goddess? I'm an orphan, I say sadly. And are the children of the wisdom goddess gonna be like this? She looked at me for a second. Oh, sorry. I smiled at her. Don't worry about it, you didn't know. And in front of us is the lake house, she says, pointing at the building directly in front of us. Let me guess, we fish and go canoeing? Yes, it is one of the activities, but it's not my favorite. I nodded. Fishing is never one of my favorite things to do anyways, it's boring. She shook her head. I like fishing, but every time I do, I always get one of my books wet. And how about you don't bring your book, I comment. She stopped walking and looked at me like I'm a crazy idiot, like I don't understand anything. Just trying to help. This is our amphitheater. Annabeth starts as we are close enough to see the details in the stone. But before I can say something about it, Annabeth starts mumbling about what she would do if she designed the amphitheater. I try to pay attention, but it's just too boring. After some time of that, we finally walk over a small hill. Annabeth smiles happily because someone finally acts like they are paying attention. So, she spoke happily, that is a climbing wall, and be careful, the lava is real. I laugh, but she didn't. We didn't walk up to the climbing wall, Annabeth walked over the bridge. Sad, I want to give it a shot. Directly in front of us are all the cabins, and behind the two biggest is the mess hall, we all eat there together. Are the cabins? I was cut off. Hold your questions until we get there, it will be easier to explain, Annabeth says, holding up a hand. XXXXX. When we got to the cabins, the soccer field that have cabins on the sidelines. There were 12 of them, and they all look unique and awe-inspiring. Annabeth spellcar breaking me out of my thoughts of only one of them looking like a normal camp cabin. The two marble cabins are Zeus and Hera. So, no touching? She nodded. The cabins on the left are the gods, and on the right are the goddesses. It is a carbon copy of where their thrones are in the throne room. 12 cabins for the 12 Olympians, I say with a nod. Correct, and which cabin do you think I live in? She says, flashing her eyelashes at me. Okay, which god or goddess is dealing with this? Don't they know she is way too young? It's not Eros, because to him it's 0 or 100. So, Aphrodite, and what did I do? Athena's cabin, I said confidently. I felt something trying to break into my mind and change my outlook on life. But that power didn't even come close. Oh crap, Aphrodite now knows she can't control my love life. Crap. Wow, she responded, surprised but excited. Surprisingly, you were correct. She giggles, starting to blush. Luckily for me, someone walked up by shouting, there you are, Annabeth. Oh, hey Luke. Annabeth shouted in return. You must be one of the new kids. Yes, I am. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I reached out and we shook hands. I'm Luke Castellan, the head of the Hermes' cabin. You a son of Hermes? I ask, but knowing the answer. But Luke didn't answer, Annabeth did for him, you learning. I laugh at her jab. She opened her mouth to say something, but Luke spoke up, making her shut it instantly. And her blush popped back up, and a cute smile appeal on her lips. Cute? Eros, stop playing with me. And another thought hit me. Luke is super attractive. If I was a girl I would be blushing and giggling at the thought of we touch each other's skins. And he looked at me for more than a second. So, Annabeth, did you show Naruto everything yet? No, I show him everything but the arena, the armory, and the stables, Annabeth say, counting the 3 off on her fingers. It cute. Eros, stop that now. He nodded, smiling. I wish I was a girl for a second because I want to blush. I will take it from here, and Chiron wants to see you at the big house. She gave both of us a huge smile and turn around and walk away. XXXXX. Luke started a little awkwardly but confidently at the same time. Claim or unclaimed? Are you sure he is not a son of Aphrodite? I shook my head. Unclaimed. He shook his head in return too. Another one. Just great. Luke said the last part with some anger behind his voice. Let's go to the armory first, and we can pick out a weapon for you. I nodded. Then lead the way. XXXXX. The armory building looked like a normal camp shed. It was made from wood, and it looked like if a stinged gust of wind come by it will blow the entire thing down. Naruto, go inside and pick out a weapon that feels right for you. And I need to go to stables to make sure the two clean it. So, Luke, you not going to show me the stables? I asked, realizing afterward if I was a girl, it will be super cute. I'm not, you can't miss it, Luke said, pointing at the big building with the red roof. I nodded and walked into the shed full of weapons. I will like a kunai, but a dagger will work as well, I mumble under my breath. A kunai? I have some specially made for you, Naruto-kun. I turn my head to see a beautiful redhead sitting on the floor, with her chin down, looking up at me. She is flipping a kunai around her finger like she lived with a hot and wine ninja for centuries. Before you ask, I covered this place with a mist. So, if any god wants to look in, they will see you looking over there. The beautiful redhead pointed to a shelf full of daggers and small blades. You know me too well, Hestia-chan, I say, looking straight into her beautiful fiery eyes. Hestia looks away, smiling. I love you too, Naruto-kun, she said, covering her face with her free hand, trying to hide her blush. And now that is what I call cute, Eros. And the redhead continued. Are you sure you want me to make that decision? Yes, you can claim me as one of your kids, or I can be your champion. Or you can blackmail one of the other gods to claim me as one of those, or do nothing. So many decisions, Hestia says in an odd tone of voice, sounding stressed. Make a decision and go with it, I say, happy and smiling. How long has it been? Centuries. And you still mad at me about that? Hestia says, sounding stressed and hopeless at the same time. She tried to make herself as small as possible, by putting her legs near her chest and wrapping her arms around them. I hate seeing her like this. I walk over to her and sat down directly in front of her. I put a finger under her chin, lifting it up so she can look into my eyes. Hestia-chan, when you like this, you're too cute. Hestia opened her mouth to speak, and she started blushing after our eyes locked. She knows what I'm about to do. I lean in and kiss her on the lips. Instead of speaking word, my redhead moans from the kiss. And I can feel her sadness and depression disappear in that instant. Hestia-chan, my redhead beauty, always loves to be kissed on the lips. Hestia opened her mouth to speak, and she started blushing after our eyes locked. She knows what I'm about to do. I lean in and kiss her on the lips. Instead of speaking word, my redhead moans from the kiss. And I can feel her sadness and depression disappear in that instant. Hestia-chan, my redhead beauty, always loves to be kissed on the lips. Percy Pav, I opened my eyes expecting that I might be in a hospital or something by the wreck. But I felt weightless, in a sense I was floating. So, I'm dreaming again. Am I going to dream about my mom being kidnapped, again? Wait. I'm a demigod now, so, demigod dream. Did that happen? All those myths say that heroes do have visions. Where is my mom? Is mom okay? Before I can continue or have a heart attack, a door opened and then I notice I was in a room, a beautiful large room with people. The person I focused on is the only man in the room, other than me. But this man felt strong and powerful, and I want to run away and hide. He felt strong, but he looked older, like in his 50s or late 40s. His hair was white and cut short. He has a well-grown build. He does look old, but he looks strong and powerful, but his eyes look yellow, maybe by natural light coming in from the windows. The two women walk into the room. The one that walks in first, well, I can't help but blush. The woman has long and beautiful orange hair that is bordered on red. Her skin is darkly tan. She definitely loves being out in the sun. Unlike everyone else who is wearing those old-timing ancient robes, she has vines growing all around her body. The vines are leaving nothing to the imagination. Even though she is showing off almost everything, she still has an air of confidence. A nasty thought popping my head, Smelly Gabe would definitely buy a messing with her on a front cover. But the nice thought is she feels motherly and kind. And that made me smile, pushing out that vomiting douching thought from my mind. The other woman walked in behind the orange redhead, is a woman with black long hair, wearing one of those Asian dresses. But unlike the other woman, she looks sickly and on the brink of death. She looks so young, maybe in her 20s or something. It kind of made me sad about how sickly she looks. As a pressure to see you. How may I help you? The men spoke, walking up to them. The woman who was wearing leaves for clothes spoke. May we speak to your wife and daughter? Of course, let me call them. Even closed his eyes for a second, and after a long moment, a bright light flashed before my eyes, making me shut them tightly. When I open my eyes, slowly see flashes of lights in my vision. I see a woman who is definitely the mother and the wife of the smaller girl who looks like hasn't been to kindergarten yet. The mother looks, of course, motherly. How she is standing holding the hand of a daughter and looks non-threatening and kind. She has green hair, the green color matching health-looking GR, with a tab of orange in it. She is wearing a white dress with a deep V-neck and cutting off in the mid-thigh. The small girl has red hair. The redhead is tightly shutting her eyes and with her free hand covering them. She is wearing a dress, but it isn't showing her anything, something normal for a girl her age. Or I think it normal for girls' age. I'm not a girl. The grown-ups then looked down at her, who is still shutting her eyes. The ladies of giggling and said stuff like, "She's so cute, and you can open your eyes now," and more giggling. She opened her eyes, slowly blushing deeply at her embarrassment. But her action made me smile. After a long moment of these ladies trying to make themselves stop giggling, they pat her hand. They stop. But it looks like they can get in another giggling fit. Or at least trying to, because the redhead looks like she might die by embarrassment. Why do you want to see my wife and daughter? The man spoke up, getting the room's attention. Getting straight to the point, and no small talk. I thought we were family. The woman who was wearing a plant stayed sadly, but she was joking. Sorry, the men said, you stop by in my free time. The sickly woman spoke up, we can come back later, but it will only take a second. No, please stay because we are family. And he got a smile from his wife by saying that. The sickly lady spoke up again, he is my son, so I want to make the proposal. The mother nodded, smiling like she knows and like where this is going. I don't know how you say this, but I would like my son, whispering, to marry your firstborn daughter, whispering. The man, the father of his daughter, shakes his head and is about to say no, but his wife steps in shouting, we will love to accept your marriage opposed, with your son. She says, smiling like the world can do no wrong. Honey. His wife gave him a death glare and make him shut up, and I'm over here wanting to run away from him. She turned around to the other woman and asked, how are you making whispering getting married? It's simple, whispering owed me a favor, and he always has a thing for redheads. For an instant, the mother looks sad about the mention of redheads. And the main reason is by the end of a decade I will have faded. When the sickly woman spoke that everyone looks at her, everybody looks surprised. Even the redhead looks up for the very first time in shock. XXXXX I opened my eyes, even though I thought I had my eyes open, and saw I am in an entirely different place. Looking to the side, seeing my favorite teacher and a much older blonde boy. Mr. Brunner says when he notices I was awake, Luke, go get Annabeth. When I blink again, Luke was gone. Naruto Pav, we both separated slowly, wishing we can do more. Hestia-chan spoke softly and wide to my ears. You got something on your chin. Hestia-chan says, putting her hands under my chin and cleaning whatever it is with her thumb. Hestia-chan then put her entire thumb into her mouth and pull it out slowly with a soft moan. My experience screaming out is saliva. Most likely it's because I was using my tongue. When she finished her moaning, I asked, do you like it? No, I love it. Sadly, you better flash out, I don't want Luke catching us. And it will being caught making out with a goddess on your very first day. Hestia blushed crimson, thinking of something entirely different from what I said. But Hestia-chan cute, so cute when she gets jealous. She clears her throat and covers her face with an open palm. But I can see she blushed even more as she says, then can you tell me why Aphrodite got super excited and ran out of the throne room? She asked innocently, but her smile screamed pain. Oh, I begin slowly, Aphrodite, figure out that she can't control my love life. Okay. Idiot, you know what she does to people she can't controls. She makes every girl in love with them. And she sits back and watches the fireworks. And I think when she shouted that, I have never seen her face gotten redder, in all these millenniums. And I think you remember the agreement the council made to Aphrodite when something like this happens. Hestia-chan said, looking dazed and a bit nervous, but in my eyes, she looks even wire. I shook my head, sighing, I think of something. Hestia leaned in and kissed me on the lips and flash out. A second later, after the light died down, I heard the door open. Naruto? Are you still alive in here? I smiled, picking up my kunai. Yep, I shouted, but I did have a couple of close calls. I stand up, flicking one on my finger. Wait, is that a kunai? Luke asks, unsure what the weapon call. I smiled, it is. I kinda wish you get something a little longer, Luke says awkwardly. I shrug, I just have a feeling. Luke nodded slowly and says slowly, I see. I nodded as I walk out of the shed full of weapons. I gave Luke a big smile, in a strong feeling to blush. But I hold that feeling in and say, so the arena now. Luke smiles evilly and says, don't get why. I shrug, I just have a feeling. Luke nodded slowly and says slowly, I see. I nodded as I walk out of the shed full of weapons. I gave Luke a big smile, and a strong feeling to blush. But I hold that feeling and say, so the arena now. Luke smiles evilly and says, don't get why. Naruto Pav. Walking out of the shed into the bright sunny afternoon. It will be fun fighting someone like today. Your smile, do you have any fighting experience? Luke asks, looking behind at my smiling face. Yes, I do, so you better don't underestimate me. He laughs, and I hate to admit his laugh is cute. Good, you got lesson 1 down. Lesson 2 is don't underestimate your opponent. Oh, are you challenging me to a fight? I ask, but it's sounding like a demand, but by my short height, and if I was him, I will think it's cute too. So, he laughed. He sighed, as I ran up next to him. I guess I can give you a showing. Then what are we waiting for? I shouted as I started sprinting to the big stone building where everybody learned how to fight in the camp. XXXXX. I walk into the arena. I see a bunch of kids training and fighting each other in spars. At least at half of them, the other half look like they don't even want to be here at all. The half that is fighting and training looks strong and very aggressive in their attacks. And the other half look like they will talk to their enemies, and afterward become best friends with them. There you are, Naruto, Luke said as he walked past me. It's not my cabin today, but I can spare you a lesson. Cabin? I asked. The cabins switch around the activities. The cabins in the arena for the afternoon are the children of Ares and the children of Aphrodite, he says, picking up a sword. I nod. It makes sense making them train together because they have opposite strength. Luke nodded as he lifts his sword in front of us. Out of the corner of my eyes, I notice almost everyone looking over at us. The children of Ares are excited to watch Luke fight. You can tell who their father is because they look tough and strong. And Aphrodite children, they look cute. Well, they're all cute, especially the girls. They all look over because they get to watch 2 cute boys fight, metal on metal. And the love goddess boys are not watching because they are not into that. I sighed. A world with gods and they still have fangirls, just great. I pull out my kunai, one in each hand and the other one on my belt as a backup. You ready? I say, smiling, feeling my heartbeat raise. How long has it been since I've been in a fight? Century. We stand there, looking at each other as everybody comes around Luke and me, wanting a better view of our fight. It was silent. The only thing that can be heard is 2 girls talking and giggling about what they are seeing. But someone behind me coughs and we both attack, trying to get close. Since Luke's weapon is longer, he attacks first, testing me with an undercut. I backstep with my left foot as the sword p through the place I was standing. I took a step forward. I have a shorter blade, so closer is better. I threw a feint at his face or a punch with something sharp in my hand. He instantly took a step back and slashed his sword down at my punching hand. I spend my kunai around, putting it in a reverse grip. I use my other kunai in my other hand as support, to reflect the incoming sword strike. Hoping the vibration from the block made him drop his sword. He doesn't have a cute ribbon wrapping around his wrist. He didn't drop it, but he looked surprised. I have a strong feeling he is making a trap. But I don't care, I'm opposed to being 12. The supporting hand struck at his neck. I wasn't going to kill him. When I get there, I can just pull my arm in, by pushing my shoulder blade. But I never did. For a moment, I felt like I had no weight. Then I saw nothing but blue and some flowing clouds. Ow, I moan. Luke laughs jokingly. You actually know how to fight, but you forgot one thing. I huff. The legs, you kick me. He nodded as he pulled me up from the ground. You know how to use your kunai, and you seem to have a muscle memory down for them too, so, continue practicing with them, he said, giving me a respectful nod. I gave him a smile and a nod in return. I wish I could add something to help you, but I feel like you were holding back. He laughed again. I can show you more later, he says, reaching out his hand for a handshake. I took it happily. Wait. I hope he is not one of the best swordsmen in the camp. I don't want fangirls. See you at dinner, and don't get yourself killed, he said, turning around and walking away. I turn around to a surprised and shocked audience. I smiled and shouted, "Who wants to fight me?" Percy Pov. Hi Mr. Brunner. I just have the weirdest dream, I say as I rub my head. My teacher smiles kindly. Can you tell me about it? I nodded slowly, scratching my head. Yeah, but my head is killing me. The stuff about you being a half-blood and my beautiful Van being wreck is all true. I look at him dumbfounded. Am I still dreaming? How do you know my dream? Like I said, Percy, you are a demigod, and welcome to Camp Half-Blood. I nodded again. Go back to sleep. I think your demigod powers didn't kick in yet after we told you about being a demigod. I nodded, not in the mood to argue. But before I dropped myself on the pillow, I wanted to double-check, so I looked down at Mr. Brunner's legs, and see him as a half-horseman. I have someone on their way that will fill you in on being a demigod. You can ask her questions, but she might ask you a lot in return. Her name is Annabeth. I nodded slowly and make my way down to the pillow. Naruto Pov. A girl walks out of a crowd, looking like a torturer, and I killed her cat. In other words, she looks at me like she will give me the most painful death possible. I smile back at her. How about you introduce yourself? I'm new. Fine, she said, wrinkling her nose, making her look more like a boy, although I feel like in a different universe she actually might look like a cute girl. I'm Clarice Rue, daughter of Ares and the one that will make you cry for your mommy. Oh, I'm Naruto. It's a pleasure to meet you, I say, giving the girl a happy-go smile. She growled like an angry dog and charged, holding up her spear. I use a blade of the kunai to push the spear off the path to my chest. I didn't stop it. I just push it out the way, letting the spear pee me. Clarice, thinking she can play with me, did not stop or jump back. I instantly jump in, getting closer. I strike, trying to cut her cheek with my blade. Then she uses her spear as a staff and blocked my attack. Clarice can use the hand of her little stick because I'm too close, and every time the daughter of Ares jumped back to try to get some room, but I follow. After playing a little game of cat and mouse, the daughter of Ares suddenly stops and smiles. I stop my swing in time to see her spear get covered with lighting coming from the actual spearhead. I jump back, seeing no other opening. That must be fun to play with, I said, smiling. Yes, it is fun to kill with it, and it was a gift from my father, Ares, she says, smirking. I nodded at her statement. Yeah, in my case my weapon is a gift from my wife, but I'm not going to say that to the girl who is trying to stab me. She took a step forward, lunging at me. I jumped out of the way, smiling. Yeah, it might be a boring way to end a fight, but these are throwing weapons after all, so I threw the kunai that is being held in my non-dominant hand. And the thrown kunai cut her cheek, leaving a slash of red. And afterward, I heard a thump of the kunai hitting into a wooded shield. She stopped for a moment, processing the feeling of pain on her cheek. After a moment she said angrily, "Coward." I tilted my head. Coward for what? Winning the fight. Because doing that is cheap, she says, shouting, getting ready to sprint back into the fight. Clarice, can you please stop? I will love to have a turn with Naruto. A girl walked out from the crowd, wearing my kunai as a ring, and she walked in front of us. The girl who spoke sounded beautiful and soothing at the same time, definitely a daughter of Aphrodite. The weird thing is Clarice nodded dumbly and walked off. The beautiful black-haired girl turns around. She gave me a huge, lovely smile, and said, "You threw a knife at me. No worries, I forgive you." Then she gave me a wink and another cute smile. I smiled. I felt calm, like something clouded my head, making me feel happy. I hit where I was aiming. No worries, but sorry for making you scared. I smiled, giving her a wink. I don't know why, but it just felt right. Don't be sorry, you made my heart flutter, she says, seductively biting her lip and putting a soft and delicate hand over her beating heart. But in the background, some of her friends started giggling. Wait, is she flirting? That's new. Smiling, introduce yourself and we can get on with the spar. I'm. The girl starts stuttering, but the way she does it seems super cute. She stops and took a deep breath in and out. She then has a confident feeling. I'm Drew Tanaka and it's my great honor to meet you, Drew said, biting her lip and rolling her eyes, not in a rude way but in a flirty way. You know my mother by how beautiful I am. And she begins again, but more excitedly, I will become the head of my cabin. I gave her a nod. Good to meet you too. For a girl, to fight a boy with their own blade is, she mumbles quietly, it's so romantic. When the fight began, she was about 2 feet away from me, because she walks between my last fighter and me, and as we talk, she walks slightly closer. Before I can jump back to see her abilities in fighting. Yeah, I can jump to her and give her a mean punch in the face, but I want to see everyone fighting abilities. But before I can jump back, she spoke up softly. Stop, and that's what I did. My brain, after I get out of my shock, instantly thinks of genjutsu. Stupid guidelines, I made up. Drew took cute small steps forward. She got rectally in my face, but the funny part is she had to look directly up. When her face got close enough to mine, I can feel her warm breath huffing out of her mouth. She whispers softly, kiss me. Our lips were ready to feel each other, but I lean in to make the kiss official. I don't know why, but my mind was clouded. The only thought rained loud as I want to kiss the beautiful and hot girl standing in front of me. She moaned softly, and her lips were so soft. She closes her eyes softly, and what I can only guess is her getting on her tippy toes, by how she deepened the kiss. After a long moment of feeling her soft lips, we separated. She is not fantastic at kissing, probably because she doesn't have any experience in that, unlike my wife. And then a thought pops up. I took her first kiss. Wait, she gave it to me. Wait, crap. She looked up at me softly, utterly red in the face. She looked shocked and surprised, licking her lips absent-mindedly. She mumbled quietly, gods, one hell of a first kiss. She smiled, do that again, at any time you want. I promise I will never bite. She whispered seductively in my ear. I blink. What just happened? I know Hestia is hitting her head and hating herself for liking what she saw. Hestia did have a weird mother, after all. The clouds started to blow away. Drop your weapon and surrender, Drew said nervously, realizing she kissed someone in front of 2 cabins. I blink and it didn't drop my weapons. I said drop your weapon and surrender, she said quickly, realizing she is losing her effectiveness over me. But this time, instead of jumping back, I go in for a punch. But before I can hit Drew, she dropped down on her butt, and with a loud eep as she dropped down. I surrender. Stop, she says quickly with her hands up and no kunai around her finger. You know you want to win if you hold the kunai up to my neck before or after the kiss. Oh, I didn't think of that, she says softly, more to herself than anyone else. I reached out a hand and help her up, and I said, then work on staying focused on your tasks, and your talkie spell thing is good. If I am you, I will work on that. She took my hand in the way that only ladies do, and I pull her up, noting how light she is. Wait, you aren't mad about me using Charm's Peak on you? Oh, that's what it is called. What I have seen is it's quiet and effective. Why will I be mad? Kurenai was fear for a reason. Thanks, she mumbled quietly. Hey, Naruto, are you claiming? A much older girl shouted, walking out from the crowd. I shook my head and said, no, she giggles, no worries, what I have seen you will be claimed soon, and since you're not claimed, I will love it if you joined our team to capture the flag. I scratch my head, I'm new, introduce yourself please. She giggled again, sorry, I'm Selena Beauregard, daughter of Aphrodite, and I am the counselor of Cabin 10. I smile, what are the teams and who are you playing against? She smiled happily, knowing I bite the bait. We are going against Athena's, Apollo's, and Hermes' cabins. I nodded. Drew once again spoke up, hating to be out of the spotlight. We are fighting with Dionysus, Demeter, Ares, and Hephaestus, most importantly as the Aphrodite cabin. Drew finished with a big smile. Let me think about it, I'm still meeting people. The 2 beauties both smiled. And Ares shouted, what you mean you most important, y'all never do anything. Then chaos happens. Selena sprinted out, trying to keep the campers from killing each other. Leaving me alone with Drew, I asked, does this normally happen? She nodded, yeah, but I don't want to break my nails. You might want to check them again, I said, laughing at her look when she realized, short nails are good for fighting. they don't break. So, you like girls with shorter nails? She asked looking up. I guess so? She smiled. Good to know, Percy Pov. Wait, your mother is a goddess. Don't be East Seaweed Brain. Goddess can cheat on their husband too, she said angrily like I'm the problem. I raise my hands up in surrender. What happened when she first walked in? She was so happy and upbeat. What happened? So, who is your mother then? Athena, goddess of wisdom. Naruto did say she was one of his favorites. What? Why? She asked, starting to blush. It sounded like that happy mood was like when she first walked in. I don't know, he told me that after he spent the entire lunch period talking about how to do a pincer movement. I say not wanting to talk about it, it was boring and confusing. Her mouth dropped, and Annabeth froze up looking like she is thinking hard about something. Annabeth, you, okay? I ask slowly thinking I might have broken her. After a moment she blinks and says, sorry, Athena is also the goddess of war strategy. Then you must be really good at war strategy or something. She nodded happily. Yep, I am the daughter of Athena. Yeah, I say feeling something odd in my chest. I never put any thoughts into who is my father but now, I want to know. Oh, look at the time, she said looking at the clock. I promise my cabin mates that we'll talk about strategy for the next capture the flag, so I need to hang out, Annabeth says walking out of the room. But before she left, she shouted over her shoulder, I will ask Luke to get you later, and you go back to sleep. She said all of that quickly as she walks out of the room. That was wielded, I mumble shaking my head. We do have some time before dinner. So, is there anything you haven't seen yet? Drew asks as she looks up at me. Yeah, I nodded. Annabeth took me around in a big circle. Annabeth, she says sounding a little bit angry as she crossed her arms. But, how did you meet up with Luke? Luke came by and told her to go to the big house for something. I say stunned, and then he finished my little tour around the camp. She nodded softly. You have any questions about Camp Half-Blood? Or ask something else, we are all alone. Drew says unconsciously biting her lip and looking up at me through her eyelashes. You can help me with something, yes, she said in a seductive and submissive way. As we are walking, she took a couple of steps closer to me. An easy distance to grab onto my right arm. And that's when I notice she is walking slightly behind me. She continued in a hussy whisper, ask anything and that will be my demand. I blush lightly thinking back to when I first met my wife. We both knew one day soon we will be married. So, we didn't go around the bush, about thinking the other is attractive. Hestia said almost the same thing as that when we first met. Now when I think about it as the first time someone looks at me without fear in their eyes or without getting on their knees and starts worshipping me. Actually, on second thought, Hestia did get on her knees and start worshipping. But that was only after we got into a bathroom, the best meet and greet ever. And that dress slips off so easily. Naruto, and a girly giggle, what you thinking about? I blink a couple of times. Seeing a black hair girl standing in front of me, slightly bent over with her arms behind her back. She is looking straight up into my eyes, with a cute tint of red on her upper cheeks. What? Did you say something? She smiled. I ask what are you thinking about? By the way, you just stop walking, and your cheeks turn red. I know you thinking of something dirty. And then she leans forward, much closer and whispers the last part. I hope I was in it. Oh, I started awkwardly, scratching my head. Oh, you remind me of someone. Someone? She asked smiling. Who is the special girl then? I shook my head. Get your mind out of the gutter, you are like 12. She laughed cutely. You are 12 too, and last time I checked girls mature faster than boys. So what? I asked demandingly, making her shut her mouth obediently, blushing crimson. The weird thing is I somehow like that look on Drew. I mentally sigh, my sensei teaching remains. Why did they hype me up for the CRA? Even the old hag liked the idea, they're all insane. Now I sigh for real. Let's take a couple of steps back. She nodded, still looking down. You can point out the cabins, I did see them, but I don't know what god goes with which cabin. She smiled knowing. So, are you saying you want me to show you my cabin? I want you to show me all of them, but, sure. Drew smiled hugely. She grabbed my arm and pulled me to the cabins. She follows me out of the arena, so she can take a nap before dinner, but now, she is dragging me to each cabin. XXXXX. We walk in the gate and turn to the right, to the goddess's slide. Drew drags me over to the one that looks girly, with an elegant blue roof and pink curtains. This is the Aphrodite cabin. I can say it is the prettiest and cutest out of them all, and for you, it is open at any time, she says as she moved her to hold to my hand as we both stand there looking at the beauty of Aphrodite's cabin. I didn't fight back or pull my hand away. How soft and delicate her hand felt, like Hestia when we first got married and a couple of centuries after. And that one, she said happily, and a hint of shock and surprise. She pointed at the one covered in vines and grapes. That one is Dionysus or Mr. D. Wait, isn't Dionysus a god? Why is he on the goddess's side? I ask, wondering what the answer is. She smiles awkwardly. No clue. Thanks, you're super helpful. You're welcome, she says happily with a huge smile. Can you get on with it? I already met this guy. She nodded. Okay Naruto, follow me. We walked past a cabin that reminded me of the moon and was made entirely of silver. This is my least favorite goddess, so no introduction. I nodded. You are a daughter of the love goddess. I bet you guys don't get along. Yeah, Drew lightened her grip on my hand, but I felt too sad to pull away. She then says, going through a mood change, the Athena cabin is one of my favorites. What makes you say that? All the cabin looks the same, but they have their own unique look. She looks up at me and smiles softly. Having gray eyes are so hot. I guess you're right, I say, looking into her shiny eyes. I know I'm right, and everyone sees them as smart too. Yeah, but it's a lot of pressure to keep that act up. Drew hummed questionably. What about the cabin with the tree growing from the roof? Drew pouted. That's Demeter's cabin. Thanks a lot, and what about the next one? You want to get rid of me? The girl asks, but it sounds more like a flirt or a joke. No, it is getting dark, I think. By now you are getting hungry? She looked down at her stomach. Thanks for reminding me. You're welcome. Okay, the next one with the purple door is Hera's cabin, and before you ask, it honorarily. And it a little bit show for my taste. And the next is, the king of the gods, Zeus's cabin, she says, rolling her eyes. I kind of get it. Zeus goes around having with everyone he wants. To a girl or a woman that would be insulting, but I would have thought a daughter of love might be okay with that. Guess not. The cabin that came next looked more moderate and smaller, at least compared to Zeus's cabin. It was made from a sea blue marble, and it has a strong smell of ocean around the cabin. The background scent smells a lot like Percy. I did know he is a son of the ocean. But my guess was a minor sea god, who got lucky with his powers. But one of the big three. Drew, this cabin smells a lot like Percy, I whispered, making Drew lean in, and I don't want the gods to watch this conversation. Drew didn't back away, she stayed close, almost leaning on me. Actually, feeling the weight, she is. What do you mean, smell like? It's something like you with the Aphrodite cabin. I don't put on that much perfume, at least the older girls haven't gotten to me yet. I shook my head. No, it's more like a background smell. What, are you singing? Drew says in shock. Is it really that surprising? I asked her, and I noticed that we are still whispering to each other. The big three made an oath, frowning. For what? They will stop having kids. Why? I asked, puzzled. If the big three made an oath to not have any more kids, then, why didn't Styx tell me before? I can get more panic. Drew spoke up. I think they did that after World War II or something about their kids getting too powerful. Why after World War II, or why then? I don't know, she said, shrugging cutely. I like pretty things. She stops for a moment, winking at me. And I don't like learning about boring old history. I nodded. It's fine, you've been super helpful. Drew blushes. Actually, when I think about it, Zappy did have a daughter. Drew asked, more to herself. So, I guess, that can happen? Thanks for the help. And for the fun of it, can you introduce the cabin to me? Drew smiled biggie and blushed. Yes, I can. Naruto meet Poseidon's cabin, and Poseidon's cabin meet Naruto. She finishes, giggling at her own joke. I smile and laugh, pulling her alone to the next cabin. Dragging Drew behind me, I can almost see her smile and blush, and the emotion she is feeling is joy and excitement. I can hear her heartbeat and her blood flowing through her veins. I continue walking as she says, that's Ares's cabin. she huffs out, sounding out of breath or hotly. We walk past the blood-red cabin. And that one is Apollo's, Drew says, giggling. Her joy and excitement is addicting, and I need to drag her around. Teasy, I thought as we walk past the cabin made from gold. And what about this one? Oh, that one is Hephaestus, but I think he went overboard on making the roof random stuff. Drew said neutrally but in a sweet way. Overdone? I question, have you been paying attention? She ran up beside me and gave me a big nod and say, I have been paying attention. I smiled and rolled my eyes at her. The next one we might want to stop and introduce ourselves, Drew says softly, pointing at the last cabin that looked like a normal oldest summer camp cabin. And because it had that normal look, it looks fantastic and unique. And why is that? I ask, but thinking I should have asked for some information from my beautiful and smart wife. Oh, since you didn't get claim yet, you are gonna be sleeping there, but don't worry, like my cabin leaders said, you will be claimed soon, she says quickly like it is a mouthful. And why is that? I ask. Hermes is the god of travelers, so he allowed everyone to sleep there or something. I smile again. You are so helpful, I say to the now grinning girl. It's my pleasure, she says, blushing cutely, now dragging me to the normal-looking cabin. Hey, what are you two doing here? Someone shouted behind us. Drew stops and waves with the hand that I'm holding, or she also holding my hand too. What's up, Annabeth, out for a walk? Annabeth asks, are you opposed to be training with your cabin and Ares' cabin for the afternoon? Yes, I am, but when I learned that Naruto did not get a proper showing of our beautiful camp, I can't help but help him, she said, finishing off with a cutely wink to Annabeth. Annabeth looks frustrated and confused at our hands. I am never good with girls, but I can guess from my old sensei teaching that she is jealous. But for what? Annabeth begins cutely, Naruto, can you go and introduce yourself to Hermes' cabin? I will love to talk with your shofar. Okay then, Drew and Annabeth, don't try to kill each other, I say, smiling, turning around, and letting go of her hand. I guess I was holding it in a way. Annabeth Pav, we both stand there watching the blonde walk up to the cabin and knock. And someone answered it and let him in, and he nearly fall down by the magic in the doorframe, labeling him not a son of Hermes. Well, that one hypothesis threw out of the window, I mumble quietly. Naruto and the one who opened the door both laugh about it. After a moment would look like they're shaking hands and introducing themselves, and then the door shut. I turn my head to Drew. She looks as stunning as ever. She looked up at me as well and our eyes met. I cough to break the ice, but before I can say anything, Drew spoke up. Sorry but not sorry, Naruto is mine. I did something that I hate. I talk without thinking. I met him first, so no, Naruto is mine. She smiled, crossing her arms together. Oh, that's right. I smiled, thinking she understands, and gave me the easy win, but she continued, so did he hold your soft and delicate hand? I shook my head and said, no, I can feel my emotion flaring up. I never liked that type of emotional state of mind, it makes you think stupidly and emotionally. And I know how I say, no, was filled with anger and jealousy, thanks for my emotion clouding my judgment. She shook her head softly, sorry, that was uncalled for. My mind froze, that was a shock. Don't look at me like that. She huffs. I guess we both needed that. That handholding. I stop and think, and said slowly, your apology is accepted. She smiled and reached out her delicate and small hand for a handshake. I can't help but look at her hand, and her wrist looks red like somebody was grabbing it hard. Then I will realize why it looked red and my cheeks felt hot, so, I am blushing at the thought. So aggressive, I whispered, wanting to shiver. She nodded, yeah, he's so hot, so rivals? I look at her hand and arm again. I smiled and I shake her hand in that warmth, like I'm sitting next to one of the campfires around the camp. I nodded. Then don't disappoint me, my rival, then I giggled. And that little sound made the girl I was handshaking blush and giggle as well. We both started giggling and then laughing at the whole thing. Rivals by love, for Naruto. It's an odd idea, but it sounds fun as well. That sounds so romantic, and she started licking her lips idly, giving me goosebumps. And Naruto kissed me on the lips, so I'm up by 2. I don't know why I blush at the image of another girl kissing Naruto. Who is keeping count? I shouted at the daughter of love and beauty, and... But the odd thing is, I like that naughty image. Naruto Pav, okay men, It's your first day at camp, and you already getting sick? I shook my head and said, I never get sick, someone is just talking about me. He laughs, oh, we have a popular one here. The other cabin mates laughed at the joke, but as soon as the moment passed, they all returned to their depressed and sad looks. I ask, what is so depressing? I'm starting to wish we talk more about what is going on up on the surface instead of lovemaking. But, you can't say no to that. But I wish I had more information. Being a ninja, knowledge is half the battle. How can I be this stupid? Everybody here hasn't been claimed yet, he says sadly. On second look, the kid who opens the door to let me in is the oldest out of the bunch. Oh, my bad, I say arguably, don't worry about it, he slapped me on my shoulder. You are new, and we all went through that, and don't forget about your amazing showing in the arena. How do you know that? It happened not that long ago. He laughs again, if you live in the Hermes cabin as long as you pick up a lot of stuff. He finishes smiling, like a sample, answer explains everything. I nodded dumbly, right. Let's skip the small talk for later because you got 2 girls waiting outside for you. I nodded. We don't have enough bunk beds, so sleeping bag for you. I nodded again but I say, you mind if I sleep on a hammock on the front porch? Go for it, it's better than sleeping on the floor, but you might want to ask Luke first. Thanks, I will keep that in mind, I say smiling. And a word of advice, Hermes is also the god of thieves. So, you've been warned. He says smiling like he can do anything wrong. Thanks for the warning. Now go, you can't keep the 2 girls waiting for you, he said pushing me out of the cabin. I turn around as the door shut behind me. Hi girls, I see you didn't kill each other. They both smiled at each other and then at me. It looks like they want to beat each other at something, but what? The 2 girls start laughing at each other about the whole thing, an inside joke or something. Drew clapped her hands happily and say, it is getting dark, and we can show you how you can sacrifice food for the gods. Thanks, Drew. Annabeth claps your hands the same way as Drew. Then let's go, before it gets crowded. I smile at their excitement, then lead the way. The 2 smiled and after they caught up to me, they start walking on either side of me, slightly behind me. That I'm quickly learning, I like girls behind me. Annabeth did show me around earlier today. They make sure I know my way around the camp, and not something that my old sensei were squealing like a little girls. But if they are, I do not know how far I will let it go. Gods love having pretty girls serving them and being around them, it is something I copy and paste over from my old world. And the other thing is I love when my wife is jealous, on second thought, she gets super horny, when I talk about other girls but what about me being around 2 pretty ones? Let's see how hard her white dress can hit the floor. Thinking about the same thing. Drew asks breaking me out of my dirty thoughts. When I look at her, for talking, she is flashing her eyelashes and she has that knowing smile. What are you thinking about? Annabeth asks wanting to step into the conversation. Before I can say anything Drew steps in front of me. She started singing, rolling her eyes idly, bang shaka wow wow that's what my mother says. Annabeth leaned in, close enough well I want them to lean in a little more for a nice girly kiss. She turned her eyes to me in shock but utterly red in the face. Drew leaned in a little more noticing my impression and teasing me for it. But in my defense, she is just as red or even more than Annabeth. Do you have any shame, you with 2 pretty girls, she said moaning out, trying to get me to blush as much as they did. I blink and say in a rush, oh look around we here, now show me how to sacrifice. Is sharing is caring? Drew asks Annabeth. Both girls were looking up at me. They were close enough together that they can feel the warmth from their breath. Annabeth nodded. Sharing is caring or that's how the saying goes. The daughter of love nodded only stopping with her forehead hitting another forehead, getting a giggle out of the 2 girls. In that case, Drew begins, but instead of speaking she leans in and put her soft lips on Annabeth's own. My mind stopped for a moment processing the beautiful and wise sight before me. The 2 started moaning softly, and they started making those sounds when you get in a deep and enthusiastic kiss. I have a strong feeling I'm gonna see my wife naked tonight. Thanks, you too, I owe you one. When they separated, I was still possessing their moaning. They look at me smiling sharing a bridge of spit between their mouth. I stand, looking at the 2 smiling and blushing girls for what felt like a minute or 2 or maybe a year. Wow, that was hot, I thought but my thought was said out loud. I'm glad to make your day, Drew says with a bounce. And I felt my face heating up. The two girls started giggling cutely at my reading face. I smiled, rolling my eyes. Annabeth clears her throat and was still red in the face. I think it is a good time to show him how to sacrifice our food to the gods. Fine, Drew said, dropping her shoulder in defeat. I was having fun. Annabeth elbows the black hair girl in the ribs and wisps something in her ear. The first thing Annabeth whispered was, "Patience stops acting foolish." Then she started speaking so fast I couldn't keep up. Even the person she was talking to looked confused. I smiled. The entire thing looks super funny and cute. Annabeth, you giving me a headache. Let's just show him how to sacrifice, she said, sounding more defeated than before. Huff. Sorry, I got ahead of myself, Annabeth mumbled under her breath. XXXXX. It actually super simple. You just pick out your favorite foods, Drew says excitedly, and then you throw some of it in the fire, she said, smiling, looking over her shoulder as she covered her plate with a bunch of cupcakes. I laugh. You going to get fat eating that many cupcakes? She giggles and bites her lip up at me. I play too much fireball with my sisters to get fat. Aphrodite's kids never get fat. Girls will always have a beautiful bikini body, Annabeth commented helpfully. You were just jealous, Drew says, smiling, shaking her hips as she picks up her plate covered with cupcakes. I am not, Annabeth say, taking a step closer like she wants a little repeat of the little kiss they shared. The daughter of love picks up a mini cupcake and put the entire thing in her mouth. With 3 of her fingers in her mouth, she hums at the taste. Drew's eyes are staring straight into the beautiful gray eyes of Annabeth. I am not jealous of you, she said in a demanding tone. Before the catfight can get started, I spoke up by saying, "What next, ladies?" I say, smiling, getting both of their attention and their blush. They both stare at me with shame in their eyes. The entire thing is cute. Yes, my wife is super cute, maybe even more than the two. But her cuteness is bordering on innocence. Then I blink and somehow, we end up in the bedroom with some of our clothes missing, but this gives me a warm feeling in my chest. I like the feeling that makes me feel happy and bubbly inside. Sorry. Then you take the food to the fire and bond it to the gods, Drew said dreamily, still in her little cute daze. Oh yeah, Annabeth added helpfully. Just think of the god or goddess you want to sacrifice to, and you can even make a prayer to them. I smile as I walk at a fire. Good thing I have both of you to explain all of this to me. Thanks, Naruto-kun, that warmed my heart, Drew says, bending over slightly and putting her delicate hands over her heart. Kun? Annabeth asks, tilting her head. Drew straightens up, shrugging. I don't know, it's just felt right saying that. It might be a daughter of Aphrodite thing. Both girls look at me with questions in their eyes, hoping I have the answer. Kun is a Japanese suffix that girls use to call their boyfriends or their crush. That's so interesting, Naruto-kun, Drew says in a high-pitched squeal. I know, Drew-chan, I say back after Drew shut her lips. Annabeth then elbows her in the ribs, but Drew smiles at the action, holding up 3 fingers, like she is winning the war. Naruto-kun, Annabeth started, feel free to use Chan at the end of my name too. I nodded slowly. Are all girls this weird now? Sure thing, Annabeth-chan. She instantly smiles bigly, in complete victory, like she invented a new weapon that will change the tides of the war. But she got a cute laugh from Drew-chan, making Annabeth-chan frown. Then after a moment, they start looking at each other challengingly, but it looked playful, like they are going to start making out again. I didn't say anything. Deep down I want to see them kiss again. After a moment of their faces and lips getting closer, they back away quickly, with their backs to each other, blushing. Sorry, they both said at the same time. I shook my head slowly with my eyes still on them. Now can we burn our food? XXXXX. Oh. Let me go first, Drew shouted as she jumped in front of Annabeth. Drew, do you know there is a thing called a line? She says, angry, but it was a playful angle. Yeah, but I want to show Naruto-kun how to sacrifice to the gods, Drew said with a happy go giggle. Annabeth shakes her head and covers her face with one of her hands. Thanks. So, Naruto-kun, what do you want to do? It is pick up one of your best cupcakes and throw it in the fire, thinking of the god or goddess you like my mother. She says with a wink. If you sacrifice to her, she might help you out with your love life. Drew says, winking again, licking her lips and getting some of the icings. And don't forget to sacrifice to some other gods, because they might give you a favor or two later, you know, if you go on a quest or something. Annabeth added helpfully, but the last part she said looking down a bit depressed. I reach out and give her a little rub on her head. Don't be sad, if I ever get on a quest, I am inviting you to come with. She looked up at me with my head still mixing in her soft blonde hair. You promise? Annabeth says with a small and nice light blush appearing on her cheeks. I nodded. It will be fun. She nodded, and as she did so my mind imagined her hand as a cute dog. I felt weird petting her like a dog, so I pull my head away, instantly regretting it. Annabeth hell looks like she hasn't washed it in some time, but it is unbelievably soft. So, Naruto-kun and Annabeth-chan, when you finish up your lovely flirting and your sacrifice to the gods, we can sit down next to the bonfire. Drew said cutely, smiling at the both of us. Annabeth walks up to the burning fire and pushes half of the plate into the fire using her knife. May this sacrifice reach my mother and the other Olympians? She whispered as I started smelling steak and tasting carrots and corn. The feeling made me smile as I walked up to the fireplace, which is a part of my wife's domain. When I looked down at the flaming fire, I felt a little bit worried. I had to sacrifice to the gods, but a god's sacrifice to another god is noticeable. At least more noticed than having a good taste in your mouth and feeling good. I smiled and I pushed half of my plate into the fire just as Annabeth did. Hestia-chan, my love, please give this sacrifice to the Olympians, and sorry for making you jumpy for the next couple of hours. Annabeth say happily, awesome, you did it like a pro. I smiled at the smiling gray eyes girl. Naruto-kun, come over here, we can eat on these rocks, Drew shouted from the other side of all the wooden tables. Yeah, a good idea. We can't eat together because we're not in the same cabin, but this idea actually good for a daughter of Aphrodite. Annabeth says smiling, starting to walk over to the now waving girl. XXXXX, I'm going to get seconds on cupcakes before my cabin mates arrive, Drew said elegantly as she walked over to the table covered with food, shaking her hips with every step. Girls like to tease after all. She's so lucky, everything I eat I have to burn off, Annabeth says with a huff and a sigh. Yeah, so unfair, she will never get fat and you are super smart, there is no competition, I say jokingly, getting a laugh from the smiling girl. Yeah, but what? I ask. I want to say sorry and just read books all day. You look fit and super well tanned, she blushed as I say that, but I continued. By looking at you I would have thought you were a girl who loves being outdoors. She shook her head hard, still blushing up a storm. Don't get me wrong, I am an outdoors girl, she says giggling softly. It's training. Training for what? I ask curiously, leaning in. We are heroes, I want to go on a quest, she says shyly, looking down at her food. But training for who? I ask, knowing I might be crossing a line. I ask as I look into her eyes, only if she would have looked up and not down at her food. My friends, my family, my best friend, she says slowly, but when she finishes, she slowly looks up through her eyelashes, unsure that was the answer I was looking for. Now, I say smiling, use that thought of your family and your friends to make you work harder. Annabeth smiled, looking up at me fully. Are you trying to give me a lecture? Are you trying to tell me an inspiring quote? But, thanks. She finished, looking down at her food, again. What are you two talking about? And what got you so sad, Annabeth-chan? She asks happily and energetically, trying to make a sad girl happy again. A personal topic, Naruto-kun. Can we talk about it later? Annabeth asked quietly. Yeah, of course. Sorry for bringing that up. No, it's good to talk about stuff like that sometimes, you know, get it off my chest. Whoa, what off your chest? Drew says with a small gasp, covering her mouth with a hand. Like I say early today, Drew-chan. I pause, getting both of their eyes on me. Get your mind out of the gutter. She pouted and Annabeth laughed. A loud siren blare through the camp, echoing in my ears. I look at the two girls who look completely fine, like that was normal. Oh, right, you don't know what that sound is for, Drew says. Annabeth continued helpfully, that is the bell for dinner. XXXXX, sitting there with two goals on either side of me, watching cabins walk in, from their training to become heroes. Most of them looked tired, but when they saw the food they instantly lightened up. Annabeth and I are calmly finishing up our plates, Drew-chan was shoving her mouth with cupcakes like they can all fit in that tiny thing. Did you decide to join us for the capture the flag game? Drew says, leaning and flashing her eyelashes subjectively like she is leaning in for a kiss. What? But I want him to be on my team, Annabeth says, leaning over me and getting in the face of Drew. Drew smiled like she already won. If you want to show him how smart and cunning you are, and the best way to show him that is to beat him in a game, right? She says, sweetly stroking her ego. I don't want him, you can have him, she said almost instantly back. Your team needed help anyways. So, kind of you, Annabeth-chan, she said, giving me a cutely wink unnoticed by Annabeth. Please excuse me, I'm going to sit with my cabin. You might want to spend the time planning out a plan. Their strategies are always easy to read, she said as she walks off to her cabin mates who just walk into the eating hall. Lucky for you, I am the only team you can join now, she said with a happy giggle. It's gonna be so much fun being behind you, I mean fighting with you. That's unfair, taking my option away from me like that. She smiled, tapping her cheek. You forgetting your own lesson to the daughter of Ares. I smile at the girl, saying, well played, well played. Oh, thanks. I try my best, Drew says arrogantly, doing a couple of jokey bows while she's still sitting on the rocks next to me. It did make me blush a little. An outside watcher might think she's doing something else. Luke, my head hurt, I say, rubbing my head and trying to ease the pain. He responds, yeah, that is normal, but, in your case, it is kind of a bit worse. Getting in a car wreck the moment you learn about it is damn harsh. After this, I go back to sleep then. Yep, a comfortable sleeping bag is waiting for you. I looked up at him. A sleeping bag? What about the big house? He shrugs. Camp rules and all of that, you can only sleep there for something serious. That's stupid. A crack of lightning roar through the sky. Don't say that. Luke hiss, cutting me off. I raise up my hands and say surprisingly, sorry. I guess it is fine, you are known. The gods don't like when people talk bad about them, Luke said with a tired sigh. I open my mouth to ask a question when we walk into the eating hall, but my eyes fell on my friend with a couple of super pretty girls surrounding him. I blush and change my question. Who are those two? I ask, pointing at them with my thumb. He paused for a moment, looking at the two. He laughs. Oh, the one on the left is Annabeth, the other one is named Drew. Is that a boy's name? Yeah, but she is nice, no matter what everybody says. I nodded. He laughed again and patted me on the back. Let's get you some dinner, Luke says as the blonde girl got up and walks to a group of campers that look somewhat like her. Maybe her half-siblings? XXXXX. I don't mind throwing half of my food into the fire. The camp gives you so much food, you can't eat it all. But the thing is, my butt is half of the bench of the table. Speaking of the Hermes table, it is too crowded. Hermes does have a lot of kids, but that is manageable. The thing is, gods don't claim their kids that often. Hinting why someone is elbowing me every 5 seconds. Don't get me wrong, this table is very energetic and fun, but right now I kind of want to sit in a quiet room due to my headache. I shook my head slowly. It got a lot of food, it like a mini buffet, but it got nothing blue. I look over where Naruto and the girl named Drew are eating together. Naruto is talking. By knowing him, he probably talking about strategy or something like that. And the beautiful girl, she is the daughter of Beauty. Drew is sitting with her leg crossed facing Naruto, leaning forward to give him her full attention. Whatever my friend is talking about must be super interesting, to make Drew forget all about her plate of cupcakes. I smiled at them. It is a funny sight. Chiron Pav. Dionysus, don't forget you have 2 new campers to introduce, I whispered to the hero-turned-god. Thanks for reminding me, he said, sounding like not happy with my reminder. I smiled. You're welcome. He rolled his eyes, then he stands up. Shut up, you annoying little dolphins, Mr. D says, and almost a second later the entire mess hall is silent. You got this, Mr. D, you. I smiled at him. By the rules, I must introduce the new campus to you. The first kid, who looks like he is about to fall off the Hermes' table, is named Perry. And the other kid, who is flirting with the daughter of Aphrodite, is named Naruto. After a second, someone spoke up or shouted from the Hermes' table, holy shit, he got his name right. He says as he sat down, Naruto is a ramen topping. His parents already did half of my job. Truthfully, I would love to meet them. Oh, someone spoke quietly, but the only reason I can hear it was because no one is talking. I shut my eyes due to a bright light. I was half fearing that Dionysus went into his true form, but he doesn't want to get punished by his father for anything else. I opened my eyes when a man elbowed me in the ribs. It's just some Naruto getting claim and his mother doesn't know how to do that properly yet, Dionysus says in shock and utter surprise. I open my eyes slowly due to his words. I look at Naruto, who is still sitting on the rocks, who is looking up at the fireball over his head. And his company, Drew, has her eyes shut tightly and with her head down, in a submissive way. She looks scared, but on a second look, I think she isn't old enough to even have it yet. With any quick look around at the campers, they all have their eyes closed the same way as Drew. I smiled. Good, they at least have the instincts down. Dionysius, who is the mother, I can't see through the fireball. He opens his mouth and shut it again, not knowing the words to say. After a moment he whispered quietly, only I can hear, his mother is Hestia. Are you serious? Are you sure? I asked seriously. He nodded slowly. You want to pronounce it to everybody, or should I ask. You can. My father is calling a meeting. I nodded. Very well, but don't go into your true form. The heroes are starting to open their eyes. Dionysius poof away like he was never there. I stand up, clearing my throat and getting all the campus's attention. Heroes, open your eyes. A goddess has just claimed her first child. The camper opens their eyes at once and looks around, stopping and staring at Naruto, who is still with a fireball over his head. I pause for a moment, letting the heroes go back and forth between me and the boy. How should I pronounce it? Hestia was an Olympian, so should I tell all her domains and make everyone bow? If not, she might come after me. She is a scary goddess. I took a deep breath and clear my throat. My heroes, let me introduce Naruto, the son of Hestia, the goddess of domestic and civic hearth, sacred and sacrificial fire, virginity, family, and the state. Finish with a small frown. He is destined to become a god. Gods never want to say goodbye to their firstborn child. And since Hestia was an ex-Olympian, she will have her wish. Before I can open my mouth to speak again, everyone, mainly the Athena cabin, started shouting out their questions. I can only shake my head. This will be a long night. Naruto paused, smiling. I thought, she not going to claim he, maybe since she is high by my sacrifice for her, she might not even know she has done it. Naruto-kun? Drew says in a whisper, as everyone shouted their questions at Chiron. What ups, Drew-chan? I say, leaning forward and only noticing I put my hand on her thigh when squeezing it. And a clue before I notice, she is blushing a deep crimson. You claim, Drew whispered softly in my ear, since we are both leaning in. I nodded dumbly. Hestia is my mom. She looks at me in my eyes, utterly dumbfounded. Drew looks super cute. I have a strong urge to give her a little pat on the head or maybe a little rub behind her ear. I somehow pull her head into my chest for a hug. I don't know how my head even got there. Rather than her, we both lean in and start kissing, and by looking into my eyes, she looks like she will love to on my tongue. I started slowly petting, smiling at her softness of her. I just realized something. She looked up at me with my hands tangled in her hair. Our godly parents are both goddesses. She smiled and nodded. Yeah, but my at least knows when to claim their children, unlike yours. Drew-chan said, giggling, leaning into my hand. I started slowly petting, smiling at the softness of her. I just realized something. She looked up at me with my hands tangled in her hair. Our godly parents are both goddesses. She smiled and nodded. Yeah, but my at least knows when to claim their children, unlike yours. Drew-chan said, giggling, leaning into my hand. Dionysus Pav. My son. You are finally here. The king of the gods shouted at me the moment I flashed in. What? Why are you yelling? I asked, knowing the answer. He still at me with his death glare for a second. Let's get started because we are all here. Zeus said, raising up his hands, his palms facing the sky. Dionysus, one of the campers, is the son of our oldest Hestia. I nodded my head slowly, looking out of the windows, trying to look like I am trying to remember. With one last nod, I smiled, snapping my fingers. Thanks, Father, for reminding me. I almost forgot. I thought you were lying about your memory going bad when you don't drink. We might need you to change your punishment a little. Zeus said with a smile, but out of the corner of my eye, I see Athena shaking her head. Aphrodite spoke up, giggling like she was high on everything. I am already picking out his future wives when he became a god. Artemis stands up quickly, growling at the goddess of love. I sit back and watch the show wishing I have some popcorn. Wives? She shouted, you will not, even if his godly domain requires it of him, I will not allow it. Aphrodite smiled, leaning forward and giving the other side a clear look down of her dress. Which isn't new, the dress she is wearing not leaving a whole lot to the imagination. Sorry my love, Naruto-kun is a special case. Why and don't call me that. Artemis starting to sound angry. I wish I have some popcorn, I love watching catfights. Oh love, she says rolling her eyes with a simple hand wave. Naruto-kun, I can't control his love life, and by the agreement made by this council. If he so wishes, he can have a different girl for a day of the month. Aphrodite said with a wise smile, and I might be one of them or you, my love. Artemis takes a deep breath readying herself for a shouting match. Before she can start Zeus holds up a hand saying, not the place nor the time. Artemis sat back down, huffing to herself. But Aphrodite sat back into her seat crossing her legs together, and she wasn't hiding her victorious smile. Lucky kid, I thought to myself. But having a man-hating goddess after his butt isn't very lucky. So, I guess it balances itself out. Can we get back to the boy's name, Naruto? Hera said. Yes, Zeus says agreeing with his wife. Hestia, will you be so nice to explain yourself? We look over to the fireplace in the throne room, but there was no red-headed girl. No goddess poking the fire. Where is she? She is always there. Zeus asks the room, sounding surprised. Father, it might be, Hestia gotten a sacrifice from her child for the first time, Athena says answering the question. But it sounded like a guess, a stab in the dark. Yes, Zeus says nodding slowly. Aphrodite step in saying all bubbly like, I remember getting my first sacrifice for my kid. Then she made me touch myself all over of like 3 days. Fun times. Aphrodite leaned back, smiling softly, definitely thinking of something. Maybe Hestia jacking herself off. Yuck, now I want to vomit. We need a quest for Naruto to prove his worth to become a god. Hera says confidently looking at every god and goddess in the room. I believe, I have an idea. The ocean god spoke up. Speak brother, Zeus says with venom. We can send Naruto on the quest to find your lightning bolt, Poseidon says. So, brother, you can take it out of hiding and say it was there the entire time, Zeus says standing up. Poseidon stands up for the challenge, but before they can start arguing, Hera pulls her husband back down into his seat, saying, I think that is a great idea, Poseidon. Poseidon gave the queen of the gods a nodded and sat back down. Should we let Naruto decide his quest mates or? Athena asks the room, but she was cut off by an answer. Percy shall go on the quest. Why him, Poseidon? Athena asks the god who cut her off a moment ago. A small smile appears on his lips. Those two came into camp together, let's just say it is fate. She nodded, and that answer makes sense. Okay then, Athena started. Who will be the third? Oh, Aphrodite says excitedly clapping her hands and bouncing in her seat. I volunteer one of my daughters, Drew. Your children are never good at this type of quest. Artemis says sadly because the team can be made up mostly of females so the female can take credit for the success of the quest. Or she wants a good showing of girl power. But Aphrodite stuttered output we were all safe by a god speaking up, if there was a mortal man here, he would have died by the cuteness of the stuttering from the love goddess. Yes, they did kiss each other 2 times now but the first he was ordered to, and the second you gave Drew our blessing, Helios said. Thank any higher power that he didn't make that into a poem or try to. A blessing, Aphrodite, you know the rules, Zeus says demandingly. In her defense, she shrugs and says simply, it wasn't a full blessing. I basically reclaim her without the full makeover. If I bless her, everyone around her will join a Meve slumber party if you catch my drift, she says with a smirk. Don't worry, the 2 love bards will have their fun with each other, and might be joined by one lucky girl. She finishes by winking at Athena. Athena spoke up slightly blushing for no apparent reason. Annabeth been studying hard to go on a quest like this. I choose my daughter for this quest. Aphrodite cut her off squealing, you are so smart, that almost slipped my mind. The 2 need to get some alone time, it will be still fun to watch, she says squealing again. I second that decision. Not what I meant, but I thank you for your vote, the goddess of wisdom says neutrally. I think this meeting is done, Zeus boom. Aphrodite clap her hands and say cheerfully, Awesome, I think that medicine that guy gave me in that drink is finally kicking in, and I think he got some handcuffs in his pocket. When she finishes, she flashes away. Discussing, the moon goddess mumbles. I think this meeting is done, Zeus boom. Aphrodite clap her hands and say cheerfully, awesome, I think that medicine that guy gave me in that drink is finally kicking in, and I think he got some handcuffs in his pocket. When she finishes, she flashes away. Discussing, the moon goddess mumbles. Percy Pav. Why do you think I know that this is all new to me too? Chiron says, rubbing his head. Then I will ask Naruto and see if he knows. The girl sitting at the Aphrodite table said. I heard someone mumbles, that question wasn't about romance or about love. I look over to the rocks where I know my friend is eating, but he wasn't there. And not even the pretty girl is there. I start looking around. I felt someone put a hand on my shoulder. I turn around expecting to see Naruto, but I see Luke. He gave me a smile and say, Naruto and Drew already sleek out. I know this slowly, why everyone is making a fuss about this. Let Annabeth ramble on how stupid I am. I know the myth of someone incorrect, but you aren't stupid. Myths can change by how people see them and how people believe in them, Luke says, cutting me off. Sure, but isn't Hestia opposed to being a virgin goddess? Yeah, there are different ways to have children for the gods, but Hestia's oath is different from the other virgin goddesses, Luke says, sitting down next to me, and somehow he got some room on the bench. It's kind of not fear, it's kind of like people trying to push me off my seat. Oh. And half of the table starts laughing. Naruto Pav. Do you need to drag me out? All I need to do is say I don't know anything, and they will get back to giving Chiron a headache. I ask the girl who is pulling me on my head. Your mother or Hestia is the goddess of campfires or something like that. So, let's go to a campfire, she says confidently and without turning her head back at me. And if this works, I can actually meet a goddess, Drew says, the last port with a little fangirly squeal. I shook my head at her cuteness. So, what campfire are you taking me to tonight? When I say that the air around us became very happy and cheerful, I know she got in a huge smile even though I can't see her face. Isn't it obvious? Drew said, sounding like she can't stop smiling. I'm surprised she didn't hiccup or start giggling. The way we are going, you are taking me to the campfire in the middle of the cabins, I say as I quicken my step, making a side to side. Yes, under the stars, and we can talk to your mother, Drew says with that same smile, but I think she is trying to make it romantic, but she added the last part. Without thinking. I hope she isn't crazy about my sacrifice. Well, she is crazy, but I don't like when she is like that. She never does well when I sacrifice to her, with her sirstance. Not good. Knowing her, she normally won't show up to something like this, but now she is high on my sacrifice to her. Just great. Naruto-kun, are you okay? The girl asks as she stands next to me and she elbows me in the ribs softly, more like playfully. I blink for a moment and laugh, using my free hand to stretch the back of my head. Sorry, Drew-chan, I got too many thoughts right now. She smiled up at me and say as she drifts closer to me with every step, I know meeting your mom is actually kind of scary, but don't worry about it. What I have heard, Hestia is super cool. Thanks, I needed that to be said out loud, I say, wishing it was cold so I can put her in and put my arm around her and pull her in close. Oh, you're welcome, and that's why I am here, Drew says, sounding sweet and finishing with a cute giggle, but now all I want to hear is a hiccup from her. Sometimes, I hate giving Eros power over my mind in the love apartment, but I like this feeling. Maybe that might be him making me feel like I like the feeling, but I don't want you to think about that. So, I did nothing when Drew-chan unconsciously started walking closer to me. Knowing my wife, she will probably give me that look of, take all the girls you want, make me feel like I'm one of the girls in the crowd, make me feel useless. Her mother was kinky like that, and even now I kind of wish I asked her out before her not then husband took over. I think she did have the hots for me, and in the end, I marry her daughter. What has this world become? I only hope she doesn't spill the beans. I let out a breath of air, catching the attention of the girl walking next to me, almost touching. What's up, Naruto-kun? Thanks for dragging me out of there, now I kind of don't want a bunch of people looking at me. No need to thank me, Naruto-kun, it's what I'm here for, Drew says with one of those smiles that I can't place, but something deep in my chest is roaring. XXXXX. We walk in a comfortable silence when we got close enough to sit down on the surrounding logs and hear the cracker of the fire. So, Drew-chan, I hope your idea works. I always want to meet my parents. And when the last word is spoken out of my lips, I realize I just gave my wife the okay to come down here. Hope she is in the right state of mind. Drew nodded. It's something I thought of. There is no harm in trying, I say, but thinking my wonderful wife might kill the girl I'm standing with out of jealousy, or she will ask for a threesome to show she is better than Drew, out of jealousy. Of them, I would like more than the other one, but I will rather she come down and say she loves me and care for me and then leave. The beauty is, she has the freedom to do what she wants. So, I sat down on a log waiting for something to happen. But Drew, who is now in front of me, turns around and asks, "What now, do you pray or something?" No clue, but if you want to say hello she will show up, if not, she won't. Oh, Drew said quietly, shyly. After a moment Drew-chan bit her lip and sat down next to me. She sat down with her hands under her butt and kicked the dirt with her heels. We sat there together in comfort. Not too close to be on fire or not too far away to be freezing, we are in the spot that is just right. Can I tell you of someone's open secrets about what happened to the firstborn to a god? Drew asked quietly under her breath. The crackling of the fire is louder. Yeah, Drew-chan, what is it? I say in a calm, soothing voice. I recognize the tone she uses. Hestia uses that voice when she is nervous or scared, would throw her out on the street and take away her powers. Drew stops taking and takes a deep breath in, trying to build her confidence to say what she needs to say. When she finishes and is about to speak up again, a bright light shine over our heads, making us shut our eyes. XXXXX. I opened one eye when I got a strong whiff of my wife's perfume or the wonderful smell of her domains. I look over at Drew to make sure that her soul wasn't stipulated from her body. Since she is a half-blood, her body doesn't get vaporized of being without her soul. So, being a primordial, I can just shove that thing back in. The odd thing is she is still having her eyes closed. Not in the cute way girls shut their eyes to try to fall asleep, but she looked like she is shutting them as hard as she can. I turn my head upon Hestia. She looked like she was out of it, but the other half she is concentrating on something. Then I realize that the eye that I opened starting to burn. I was wondering why I opened one eye. Hestia hasn't cleaned herself off after flashing in, so naughty. I look into her eyes, and she gives me that, "Please help me, look, I will be rewarded, you ally." I blush to imagine how she will pay me back. I close my eyes with a beautiful girl naked in front of me. She wasn't technically naked, she did have handcuffs on and a mouth gag. I want to shake my head to get the image out, but I need concentration, because I'm not in my original body. All I need to do is change my blessing to her. When I flick my fingers and her power level change. When I open my eyes, she is giving me that lustful look. So, Hestia going to pay me back very soon, I thought, giving her a smile. Hestia is sitting on the ground and her red hair is the fire and looking at the age of 23. It looked pretty, but I want to watch her red hair blowing through the wind. It's good to see you again, Naruto-kun, Hestia says, smiling. Drew squeezed my hand softly, trying to give me some confidence to speak to my mother. I squeeze back, getting an odd look and a small red blush from my Hestia, who obviously has a front row seat. Hey mom, I say with a small smile, awkwardly, never thinking I will ever call her that. Yeah, she does call me daddy sometimes, but that's different. Hestia looked down, biting her lip, not in a why way but looking like she is thinking hard about something. We understand your nervousness, Lady Hestia. If you want me to leave? She asks happily, loosening up her grip on my hand, and getting ready to stand up. Hestia look up at Drew using her eyes. Naruto-kun, she nice, I approve. What? Drew shouted, voice cracking. Hestia smile in a happy way, but I know that's a smile. This is her way of getting payback. Rhea is kinkier than I thought. And Rhea taught her daughter well, I thought, while a light blush was on my cheeks. What I have seen, I even like that gray-eyed girl who is walking this way to see you too, Hestia said, combing her hair, but it looks like she is putting her hands in the fire. I waited for a moment, and the girl who is sitting next to me didn't say anything. I turned my head to look at her. She is a new shade of red, completely frozen, enterprise and shocked. At least she didn't fall off the log we are sitting on. Wave a hand over her face, trying to get her attention. It's like Drew is brain dead. Mom, I think you kill her, I say with a small smile, thinking it funny to call her mom. She smiled at my joke and says seriously, I'm serious about what I say about the two girls. Is this a test? Do you have a hidden weapon in your pocket? I swell on the maker of the universe is true, Hestia says in a wry way, biting her lip as you look up at me. The look made me shiver. I knew she was telling the truth. I can feel it in my gut. If she wasn't truthful, I can punish her any way I see fit. And that a reason why we have a lot, and we were super horny back then too. Honey, I don't want to have a one-night stand, they're too nice for that, I say slowly, trying to get the point across. Hestia-chan nodded. Not like that, not like the other gods. But did you say having more than one wife or girls is common in your other world? Yes, I did, but I also say it was running out of fashion. Yes, you did say that, but if you do it will make me happy, and you want me to be happy, right? Hestia-chan says in a cute tone and using the most dangerous weapon women can use, the puppy dog eyes. But, no buts, Naruto-kun. Hestia-chan said in a demanding voice, even though the way she is sitting on the ground, she looks as submissive and obedient as a little puppy. But Hestia-chan. What did I say? Sorry, I say, holding up the hand that our fingers interlocked together to the girl in question. If I did it as ask, you won't get enough attention and alone time with me. She shook her head. For the creator of the universe, you are an idiot, you have shadow clones. Talking about the attention, you can marry every girl on the planet, and they will all say you're giving them too much attention and love. Be you. Don't you say it, my wife caught me off. And we can build a family together. I nodded, smile a little, and ask, one more thing, did Aphrodite put you up to this? No, but I wish did. Having an IOU from Aphrodite will be awesome, she said, clapping her hands energetically, making me smile at her cuteness. Let me think about it. Okay, love. Yes, take all the time you need, but the ladies are aging. I nodded, but the beautiful girl sitting next to me decided to mount and open her eyes. Wow, I black out. Wait, Lady Hestia, were you serious? Yes, I am. With my heart and soul I am, my love. I thought she will fall on her back, but somehow, she kept her balance. Oh, she says smartly. I smiled. Maybe my wife is right about this. I put my money on her, still in La La Land. Oh, I almost forgot I was an Olympian void time, so, Hestia says with a smile, I can have a cabin. She finishes with a snap of her fingers and a bright light shine over us. We must shut our eyes when we notice Hestia flash away while a white light shines over us. With no warning. And it is kind of weird to do that to someone who you want to be a sister by marriage. Or my beautiful wife went crazy about what she has seen and tried to kill Drew. Even with the power of the universe behind me, I'm still scared of an angry woman. We must shut our eyes when we notice Hestia flash away while a white light shines over us. With no warning. And it is kind of weird to do that to someone who you want to be a sister by marriage. Or my beautiful wife went crazy about what she sees and tried to kill Drew. Even with the power of the universe behind me, I'm still scared of angry women. Annabeth Pov, Danabeth, can you get Naruto? He is at the cabins. Mr. D said after flashing in. And join him at the big house, same with you, Jammin. Percy, I will walk into the big house, Chiron says. I stand up and walk out of the mess hall. XXXXX. How should I say it? Hey, Naruto-kun, Mr. D, you want us to meet at the big house? I shook my head. No, that wouldn't work. Drew did run off with him. I clapped my hands smiling. Oh, what about, you me big house now, but Chiron and Mr. D, Percy will be there. I finish with a depressing sigh. No, that wouldn't work. I thought before the thought even finished forming. It is going to anyways. Okay. I think about it, I'm a daughter of wisdom, not love. So, what will Drew do? I ask out loud, weirdly talking to yourself as a sign of intelligence. Drew says something like, don't overthink it and let your heart take control. If I don't think about my actions, how should I act around Naruto-kun? And letting my heart take control. Love is a chemical reaction, or it's Aphrodite doing. I say out loud again, thinking no one is around, but some my surprise a beautiful voice spoke behind me. It's not that simple, my dear. More love, goddesses. I turn around, seeing a much older Drew sitting on a log with her legs crossed, next to the path. Are you Aphrodite? Why, you look like Drew. Yeah, you do take the appearance of what we find most attractive. But Drew? The beautiful young woman huffed in front of me, straight to the questions, but mother like daughter. She says with a smile like she finds the whole situation cute. I shook my head. I was checking out her. The dress is super revealing. You are correct. I take on the appearance of whom you find most attractive, but that is mainly for guys. She said, winking at me, and for the ladies, they questioned their uality. Yeah, after getting an interactive formative of who she is. I should have been brought to my knees and shown my respect for the goddess of love. But as a daughter of wisdom, what the goddess casually says piques my curiosity. So, ask as my eyes ones over her hips, if there are different versions of love, then why are you on the council? After I spoke my question, I realize how rude it was, and that would happen when you don't think about your actions. But instead of killing me, Aphrodite combed her hair with her fingers, somehow looking beautiful, and why doing so? Isn't it obvious? I shook my head. That's why I'm asking. Aphrodite rose her eyes cutely. Everybody loves. She says it is the simplest thing in the world, but to her it probably was. Oh, what is my super intelligent answer? The love goddess leans forward. You decided to make my appearance my daughter. It makes me proud for her. I tilted my head at a statement, with a smile to my friend and rival. How does that make you proud? I ask with the same tilt of my head. You picked Drew for my appearance. Meet you see Drew as a close friend or maybe a lover, Aphrodite said, giving me a wink. I blush. Can I stutter out? What makes you say that? Honey, eyes up here, she said, pointing to her face, and not down there, she said, pointing at her large. Who? Sorry. I forgive you, but let me ask you one question before our king decided to look at your camp. I nodded. I gave Aphrodite a nervous smile. Then I notice what I am looking at and pull away my eyes, but my eyes came back to something else. I mentally shag. We are both girls, so who cares if I am looking at her thighs or her legs? Be careful. The more you look, more you fall in love with your own. But, coming from the experience, I think all boys love watching two girls make out. And Naruto, he seemed like the man you will love watching that type of action. I looked down at the ground. I know my face looked like a tomato, but the image in my head. Gods, Drew and me kissing with no tomorrow, with our legs locked together, on the floor. And Naruto-kun sitting on my bed watching us play. And then he pulled our hair, getting our butts on the bed, and then, oh gods. Aphrodite, I say with a moan. Ask your question or I might just fall in love with your daughter. Aphrodite gave me a wise smile. Every guy like a kinky girl, trust me. She gave me a wink with that seems knowing smile. My eyes happily watch her change which leg is on top. I know my face is red, I can feel the heat from it, at least I wasn't licking my lips. My bad, I forgot talking to the ladies makes the magic work faster. So, the question, I say, not licking my lips, not licking my lips. Fine. Why do you like looking at my? She asked as she grabbed them and shake them around for me to see. And secondly, why do your eyes love going over my thighs? The goddess of love asks, finishing slapping her oversized thighs, leaving a red hand mark behind. I blush my moment watching the magic happen, taking a deep breath, then I say, because tell the guy that the girl in question can feed their children, so the baby won't die of salvation. About the thighs? I would have considered, but Aphrodite hold up a delicate and soft hand, with her mouth utterly open in shock and in wonder. What? I ask with a slight blush, as I play with my hair with my finger. Thinking back on this moment, I will say I was acting super cute. That's not what I have in mind, but daughter like mother, right? Aphrodite said, finishing off with a deep breath and a small giggle. By dropping in on me even though you're not allowed to. Are you going to make my love life a tragically? I ask, knowing she will leave, hoping she shakes her head before flashing away. No, but yes, I was planning on that. I tilted my head and raised an eyebrow, not caring what my eyes are happily laying on. The goddess of love gives me a moment to tilt my head. Aphrodite continues. But a small interaction with a young handsome blonde make me change my mind. Yes, it will take some time, but, in the end, you will be proud to call him your master. I randomly feel lightheaded. Is Aphrodite giving? I shook my head. Don't think like that. And the other thing, calling Naruto-kun master. I thought, biting my lip, I wouldn't say no to that. I blinked, getting out of my thoughts and seeing no beautiful love goddess sitting in front of me. I turned around and started walking to the cabins. Within a terrifying thought hit me. Aphrodite going to use me as a plaything in the drama and lovemaking appointments. Just great. I say, feeling depressed. I can't continue staring at Aphrodite's bubbly. And then I blush to realize I say lovemaking out loud. Hey, I'm like 12. I should have asked different questions. I should have continued thinking of a much better question to ask the love goddess. Then a beautiful and wise voice whispered in my ear, "Don't think about that. I thought you were cute, focus on that, okay, my love." I blush again, biting my lip thinking what in the names of gods is wrong of me. Actually, I knows it's Aphrodite, Naruto's pav. It's so big. Drew says in awe. You can say that again. It's so big, Drew says in awe again, but I can hear her trying to hold back a giggle. I roll my eyes and give her a smile. It like a mini house? Did someone ever tell her that it must be a cabin? Drew-chan, it even has a hammock on the porch, I say smiling. I love them because you must get on top of each other to say balance on one of those. They are comfortable and nice to sleep in even if you don't have a beautiful girl sleeping on top of you. Lucky, and it looks like you could always sleep just by touching it, Drew says with a pout. Yep, I nodded. I know where I will be after a hard day of trading. She nodded with her mouth slightly open. Hey, Naruto-kun and Drew, what are you two staring at? I look over where I heard the feminine voice. It is hard to see in the dark and make it even more difficult. I've been flashed a couple of times today. I did recognize the voice, and the suffix she uses in my name. Annabeth-chan. Hey, Annabeth-chan, come over here and join us, I shouted waving a hand at her. Annabeth-chan waved back and continued walking over to us. XXXXX, she didn't sit down, but she was close enough to step over the log and sit down. Or if she bends over, she can touch the log. Annabeth looks nervous, just by the feeling of the air around her. She stands there, going back and forth between me and Drew. Annabeth's mouth is slightly open, and I can see she is biting down on her tongue with the teeth that are used to grind down leaves. Sit down and stay for a while, I say smiling up at her. I even tap the spot next to me, helping her decide where to sit. If she sits there, I will have two beautiful girls sitting on either side of me, and I know that it's coming from my powerful primordial side. Annabeth said quietly, but she looks like she was blushing even when she was looking at Drew. But it might just be Hestia having some fun with me. We're seeing using Hestia light coming from her fire. Drew giggled at her girlfriend. Did the cat get your tongue? Drew asks with a big smile, coping my own. No, she then takes a deep breath. I'm going to get shy to the point, Naruto-kun. Mr. D asked me to get you, and join me and Percy in the big house. I nodded knowing the gods finally started doing something their jobs. So, is it a surprise party for the newbies? She shook her head, putting her hands in front of her belly in a cute and nervous way. Mr. D did not tell me why, but my guess is he probably wanted to make you a cabin head since Hestia is an ex-Olympian. And probably get her own cabin tomorrow or something. I know you are smart, but have you turning around? Drew asks, looking behind Annabeth at the new Hestia's cabin. She did as asked, but only a moment. Annabeth sped back around at speeds that will make my father jealous. It's so big, she shouted in shock. I smiled and said, that's what she said. I pointed at the girl who it with my thumb. What? Drew stuttered out, that's not what I meant. What you talking about, Drew-chan? I asked, taking back my big smile. Drew looks like she about to fall to a knee and start crying and pray to the heavens for help. Naruto-kun, it is not polite to make a god wait. Annabeth says in an odd tone, looking like she is thinking back at something. I stand up. Okay then let's go. Not even a second at toilet after Drew stood up saying, it's been a long day, I'm heading to bed. Good night, Naruto-kun, and Annabeth-chan. Drew said with a tired wave, but somehow, she got the energy to sprint to her cabin. Before Drew-chan shut the door, she turned around and she sees us wave back to her. Take me to your... Shut up, she said, giggling. Hey, I was trying to do a dad joke, more giggles. Sighing, you are no help. Cutting people off of making a lame dad joke, wow. I say, rolling my eyes playfully at her. Oh, sorry. Now, it's my turn to laugh. Sighing, you are no help. Cutting people off of making a lame dad joke, wow. I say, rolling my eyes playfully to her. Oh, sorry. Now, it's my turn to laugh. Naruto Pav. Sprinting up the steps, when I got on the patio, I used my momentum to spin myself around. I looked down at the girl, who is following me and who is weirdly quiet. I gave her a big smile. Don't tell me this is a surprise party. She shook her head slowly as she walks up the steps. Annabeth huffed and says softly to herself, that's what I thought at first, but not adding up. Never mind, she mumbles softly. Don't worry about it, I know you'll figure out it sooner or later. When I say that Annabeth is pasting me, but weirdly her ears turn red. Right when you go inside, she nodded without looking back. Percy Pav as my two friends walked in the door, I gave them an awkward wave just sitting there on the couch. Hey Percy, so, no surprise party? Naruto asks sounding heartbroken. Chiron spoke up before I can speak, sadly no. Mr. D, do you want to tell them? Why me? Chiron talks a deep breath and says, because you helped make that decision. Fine. The council has volunteered you free to go on a quest. The god said without even looking up from his deck of cards. Quest? But on my first day I don't even know how to do anything, I say. Naruto tilted his head and crossed his arms, that's not how volunteering works. And at that get a shrug from the god. Annabeth claps her hands and says high-pitch what Naruto will call sounding like a fangirl. I'm going on a quest, thank gods. I mean we are going on a quest thanks the gods, and thank you, Mr. D. I won't let you down and the gods down. Yes, yes, yes. I know it is a great honor, now one of you go upstairs and get the prophecy. Of course, please excuse me, she says starting to walk to a different room, maybe to go upstairs. No Annabeth, don't get ahead of yourself. She stops and turns around and asks, Chiron, what is it? The horseman sighed. It pains me to say you're not the leader of this quest, even though you spent your entire time here training to be one. She tilted her head in the same way as Naruto did a moment ago. Then who is? She asked. Naruto is the leader of the quest. We all look at the blonde who is still standing next to the door. I know I am the firstborn of Hestia, but why me? I just got here. Kid, they got so angry and blamed each other, Mr. D. What they're going to figure out anyway, so why not tell them? Chiron spoke up once again, sounding depressed and sad. I know you just got here and you haven't even been trained in fighting. Yes, you've been trained, but not how to fight monsters. Did mom want me to go on the quest? Naruto asks. But the real thing is everyone in the room looked at him like he was crazy, like he shouldn't have said something. Did he? Yes, Annabeth said. Don't worry about it, he is a firstborn. Trust me, my first kid, I let him get away with everything. Annabeth, please show Naruto to the stairs, but Annabeth. Yes, Chiron? Chiron staring at her promised pain if she disobeys, do not go to the second floor. She nodded, holding her hands in front of her, yes sir, Naruto-kun please follow me. Naruto gave her a smile and say, lead the way. Naruto Pav. Be careful. Chiron always says people have gone crazy looking at her, Annabeth said nervously as she leans on the wall playing with her hair with a finger. Thanks, I will be careful, I say smiling down at her as I climb up the stairs. When I got to the top, I looked down and I get a nod and a smile from the girl. And even one of those cute hand waves girls do all the time, but Annabeth looks down at her hand. Like she didn't just tell her hand to wave up at me. I smile, it's a cute sight. The quest is going to be so fun, I just know it. XXXXX I walk past all those cool little tactics and knives and the spoils of past quests. I smile at the creepy-looking mummy sitting next to the window. Hi, I say as she turned to look at me with her eyes, which aren't even there. Naruto, she asks as her eyes glow green. Ask your question, destroyer and creator? I smile awkwardly, scratching my head. I forgot you knew. Yes. Now ask her, I will scare you and make you pee your pants and you will die of embarrassment. I smiled, laughing a little. I would like to see you try. As you wish, she says as her eyes glow green again and the room begins to glow green. I got a horrible feeling that something bad will happen. So, I raise up my hands and say, more like shouting, hey, I was joking. The old-looking mummy laughed. You know I can't give you a prophecy, you are my god after all. That one reason you say gods can't go on quests is because they can't be given prophecies. But just give me something like go west or something. She shook her head, cutting me off. No, get one of your quest mates to ask me, but I will help you out. Naruto does not count as a member of the quest. 2 is not a lucky number compared to 3. So, do I need another teammate? She said nothing, going back to a dead body sitting in a chair looking out of the window. Just great, but I did say this quest will be fun. I shrug. Why not get the son of the sea god to ask? So, do I need another teammate? She said nothing, going back to a dead body sitting in a chair looking out of the window. Just great, but I did say this quest will be fun. I shrug. Why not get the son of the sea god to ask? Percy Pav. We all sit there in silence watching for Naruto to come back down the stairs. And when he did, he looked like he was in deep thought. Naruto, what is your prophecy? Kairon asks as he walks up to him and puts a hand on his shoulder. He rubs his back on his head and smiles awkwardly. The prophecy, right. Must go west. Must fight. Must survive. To find the Zappy toy. We all looked at him waiting for him to continue. What? That's it. What? Annabeth sounded. Yes, Naruto nodded. I think she is getting paid too much or too little. The god in the room laughed. We don't pay her anything. So, too little, Naruto said with a smile. So go west, that's it? Annabeth said deep in thought. Naruto bit his lip and said, I think you need to give her a raise, and the old lady, what's to say hello to Percy? What about me? I say, opening my eyes, it's your quest. He says, rubbing his head again. Have you been dreaming? Oh, a demigod dream, you guys did say something about that. Percy, she asks for you, Kairon sighed, go up to see her and get your prophecy. I nodded dumbly, I will take you to the stairs, Annabeth said, getting up and moving to the open door. I nodded, give me a second, okay, seaweed brain. XXXXX waking up the old wooden stairs and they creaked with every other step. I am slowly opening the door and hearing something creepy. Come in and ask, I nodded at the old-looking mummy, and looking around at the old random quest rewards filling all the shelves. What do I need to do? I don't know why she wants to see me. Child of the sea, your mother is in danger and needs your help. I take a step closer. What? Who? How can I save my mom? I think the mummy smiled, on the quest. I blink, go on it my mom, please. Remember your dreams, and, she began but green smoke came out of her mouth. You shall go west, and face the god who has turned. You shall find what was stolen and see it safely returned. You shall be betrayed by the one you call friend and fail to save what matters most in the end. And then the mummy drops down in her old wooden chair. Now what? She did not answer. And 3, Naruto Pav. Is it okay if we stay for a couple of days so Percy can get some training? I don't care, but remember if you fail the gods will go to war, Mr. D said, holding a GL. Yes, but if he gets killed because he has no idea what he is doing, I say. Then that's on you Naruto. I smile, I think that's a girl's name. Naruto I believe is a smart idea, Kairon said with a smile. That was weird, Percy said walking into the room. Good you back, Annabeth says. So, what did she say? You mean the prophecy about my mom? Your mom? She says, is it something that can help us on the quest? Percy nodded slowly, I think. He asked. Go on Percy, Kairon says, sounding like he was humming. Percy then said, you shall go west and face the god who has turned. You shall find what was stolen and see it safely returned. You shall be betrayed by the one you call friend and fail to save what matters most in the end. The god laughed. I was about to ask my dad to give her a raise. Some more laughter from the god. I smile. I think she needs a raise. Kairon cleared his throat. Heroes, we need to talk about both of your prophecies. Yeah, but I think she is joking with me. The god laughed. I was about to ask my dad to give her a raise. Some more laughter from the god. I smile. I think she needs a raise. Kairon cleared his throat. Heroes, we need to talk about both of your prophecies. Yeah, but I think she is joking with me, Percy Pav. Next day, getting my head beaten to the ground again, I mumble. I would have thought learning how to fight with a sword would be fun. Yes, it is, but you only have a day, Luke said simply like he was talking about the weather. But I like your drive. I nodded, getting back up with my face covered in dirt and dust. Luke, who is holding his weapon in front of him and, say, tilting his head, come at me, and you burning daylight. I bite my bottom lip and charge. Going for an undercut slash, moving the blade with my wrist and not my arm. Yes, less power, but my blade moves more quickly. And Luke did say it makes your enemy hard to see what you're planning to do. But somehow, I know my face will meet the ground once again, with a simple smile on Luke's face. Naruto Pav. He is learning, I say with a small smile as I watch him get knocked to the ground. Are you sure he can learn everything in one day? The girl sitting next to me asked. I shook my head, and I looked over in her gray eyes and said, no. She then blushes by turning red, and something deep inside of me felt super good seeing that. The red matches with the gray of her eyes. Then why do you ask for an extra day for him to train? She asked, looking like she is trying to figure it out by herself with what I like to call her hard-thinking face. I shrug, don't think too hard about it. She bit her lip and spoke softly, you know we are all on a time limit, right? Really? Thanks for reminding me. The girl rolled her eyes in that cute way and with one of those nice smiles. No, seriously, why did you ask for an extra day? She asks, trying to hold eye contact but for some reason keeps looking away after a second or two. Oh, let me guess it's gonna keep you up at night. Not even a moment later, she turned completely red like you tomato. And randomly for a moment I saw Hinata in her, same eyes, same hair and even those amazing large S. I smiled at the fading image. I always have a thing for shy girls, just ask my wife. But in a way Annabeth reminds me more of Sakura because they are both smart. But the thing where she turned completely red, that is a game changer. I laugh and smile at her and I want to put an arm around her and put her in close. I want Percy to know how to hold his sword and knows he can't win fights just because he is a demigod. Oh, that's smart, she says quietly. That didn't sound smart, I say with a small smile as I watch Percy get headbutted into the dirt again. The girl says, sounding smart, I believe you are right, but I don't want him to be scared of his own shadow. I nodded, at least when he figured out how to block and do something cool with his sword, then I will let him rest. She looks at me through her eyelashes. I should again and feel butterflies in my stomach looking at her gray eyes through her eyelashes. Feeling myself smiled and my cheeks reddening, I say, I want him to know he on the bottom of the food chain now. But he can grow into a great fighter with time. The smart one nodded, I see, you don't want him to be overconfident in his skill, but still confident that he can grow as a swordsman. I smiled at the girl sitting next to me and at my friend standing up once again. You sure one day can help him? Normally, we trained for years and still, not ready to go on any type of quest. I nodded. I agree with you, but Percy has been chosen by the gods to go on this quest. Yeah, but? Annabeth asks quietly, sounding like she lost her puppy. I noticed sagely, I would rather have Percy with 1 day of training than none. She smiled and it was fantastic. It looked bubbly and filled with emotion, thanks for itching my curiosity. I smile, and why did you ask to sit down with me? She will go away trying to hide her blush. Right, I asked if I can sit with you to talk about the prophecy. She finished speaking quickly, and she nods slowly to herself. Right. No disrespect to you, Naruto-kun, but I think we should go off Percy's prophecy and not yours. I nodded with a smile, yeah, I did make it up. She laughed, obviously taking that as a joke, and it sounds nice. And the redness that popped up on her cheeks was even nicer. Like Percy says to go west, but it doesn't say how long or how far. I nod letting her think out loud. Must fight. Must survive. It is a freaking quest. Of course, we're going to fight. We are all going to run into monsters and survive thin. Yeah, we're going to come close to death at every turn. Annabeth said, sounding a little panicked, but the fall-away look in her eyes gave something away. I lightly put an arm around her, not saying anything. And the last part, that is literally the reason why the gods want us to go on this quest. I smiled, focusing on the good feeling of her warmth of her back. So, no offense. I smiled, making circles on her back, none taken Annabeth-chan. She smiled looking like her entire body is glowing with her smile, awesome Naruto-kun. She says with one of those smiles that it is impossible to stop smiling. Before I open my mouth to say something, I hear someone clapping in the middle of the field. Good job, Percy. You knocked the sword out of my hand with an amazing counter. So, maybe I can put some effort into this fight instead of thinking about what I should have for dinner tonight. For a moment Percy looks surprised at his handiwork, but he quickly snaps out of it and puts his sword in front of him, getting down in a fighting stance. See Annabeth-chan, he is learning. She giggles softly, I never say anything different. For a moment Percy looks surprised at his handiwork, but he quickly snaps out of it and puts his sword in front of him, getting down in a fighting stance. See Annabeth-chan, he is learning. She giggles softly, I never say anything different. Drew Pav laying on my stomach with my feet in the air, reading one of my favorite magazines. Hey, Drew, I heard from the grapevine. You're interested in a boy and another girl is into him too. Sis? I asked, not remembering her name. She is one of the older girls and she only talks about all those times she got and laid. And at least what I can figure out, she isn't that good at it. Maybe she is, but taking off a little bit of her clothes and all of a sudden all she can do is lay on her back moaning with a Meave blush on her face. But I am kind of jealous of her, smooth skin Meave and milky and beautiful and large hips. And her long and silky red hair. And her dark purpley eyes, and her legs. I heard the moment she walked into camp. Everyone knew who her godly parent was. She isn't afraid to wear her camp t-shirt a little undersize, and she loved to wrap it up and tie it under her. So she can show off some skin. And most times, like this one, she isn't wearing a bra. And 3. And she likes to use scissors and a sewing kit to turn the t-shirt into a V-neck, a deep one at that. At least she is wearing pants, but they were super tight. All of this is not a bad thing if you know who our mother is. This behavior is actually kind of normal and I do wear clothes like that every other day. But the thing is, she makes it look so easy. What got you to come over to see me at my bunk? My half-sister smiled, and gods, her smile was beautiful. Naruto is going on this quest to prove himself to be good enough to become a god. It's not like that, I shouted. She tapped her lips with her tongue and said smoothly, right, but I wish you luck, my dear goddess. She finishes with a cute bow that will make any guy blush, and it made me blush too. It's not. But the only thing I can focus on is her shaking butt as she walks away into the bathroom. Right? I'm picking up a thing for girls, thanks mother. But I was smiling, she did have a nice butt. I looked down at the magazine I was reading, and it felt boring. What now? Oh, I can go see Naruto-kun. Where was he? Oh right, Naruto-kun is training Percy. I thought to myself, smiling as I row out of my bed. I skipped to the front door. And definitely not listening to the girls giggling at me. And definitely not listening to them betting each other when I get married or have kids or become immortal. Definitely not. XXXXX walking out of the door, still with a hop in my step. I smiled at the new cabin. He is so pretty, the cabin is so pretty. I thought with a small blush at the nice feeling of home the cabin was giving off. Looking at the bodybuilding, my eyes focus on something else for a second. Wait, is that? I asked the wind. And somehow, he owed me and maybe he feels I had my eyes on him. I smile at the opportunity. Are you that satyr that brought in Naruto-kun and Percy? He looked at me, baking his focus on the warmth of the cabin. No, it also has a feeling like it just rains. And maybe for being the daughter of love, I kind of want to plant flowers around the cabin. The ground surrounding the cabin. I don't know, it just looks good for flowers. Ooh, HII. I gave him a big smile because he looked like he will die due to his nervous. Yes, I am that satyr, he said quietly looking down at his feet. I gave the world a soft smile and my cheeks turned slightly red. Sue, how did you meet Naruto-kun? Right, satyr are somewhat awkward. My blush turned slightly crimson. How did you figure out Naruto-kun is a demigod? I don't know, it's hard to explain. His smell and, that is the third time you say kun? I only knew Naruto for a little less than a week, but is that his middle name or something? I felt butterflies in my stomach and maybe I bite my lip, but I know I turn red like a tornado. It's Japanese. He nodded, looking at me like I'm the awkward one. I'm heading over to see Naruto-kun. Do you want to come with me? I hope he says yes. It will be kind of awkward for me to drop in without getting an invite. The satyr nodded. Cool, I do need to see him. I smiled. Awesome. Sorry, but what is your name again? I think we never actually talked to each other. Oh gods, sorry, I'm Drew. I'm the daughter of Aphrodite. I say happily, proud of who my mother is. That's fine, I'm Grover. I am a satyr. I smiled. Then let's go see Naruto-kun. And Percy. Yeah. Thanks for watching.